Chapter 835. Xiao. In the Andromeda Galaxy, more than 2 million light-years away from the Milky Way galaxy, Xing Hui was riding a 15th-order flying ship. It was using the warp drive to travel faster than light. He had used 5 contribution points to exchange for this ship. The reason why he didn't use the lucky star that Yin had given him was because the grade of the lucky star was too high. Those who could ride a 17th-order ship would not be weaker than 17th order. Most of the lifeforms that rode 17th-order ships were 18th order, 19th order, or even 20th order civilizations. With the immortal Tao civilization's current situation, if he really rode such a ship to search, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to see the immortal Tao civilization's cultivators. Those cultivators would have already hidden in some corner. Therefore, using a 15th-order ship as a disguise wouldn't be too inefficient, and it wouldn't alert the enemy. Xing Hui put down the book on the cultivation method of dimensional leaps and his gaze fell on a compass. This was a compass specially used to detect information. It was a product of a 20th-order civilization and was called the interstellar compass. With this compass, all the information within 100,000 light-years would be collected by this compass. In other words, it could monitor the movements of half of the Andromeda Galaxy. It was worth 1,000 military merits, and every year it was used, it would cost an additional 100 military merits worth of precious resources. It should be known that killing a world realm expert with a single thought would only earn 1,000 military merits. In other words, the value of this compass was enough to buy the life of a world realm expert. Seeing that Xing Hui was spending so many military merits to search for traces of the immortal Tao civilization, it could be said that he was sparing no expense. It's been 3 years, there's no news at all. The immortal Tao civilization's cultivators have hidden themselves too well. Should I return to the Bloodshed World, then go from the Bloodshed World to the Kun Dragon Great World and ask the Rosy Dawn King for the coordinates of the True Sun Great World, then use the World Rainbow Bridge to rush to the True Sun Great World, and then use the True Sun Great World's teleportation array to return to the Divine Wilderness Great World? The Divine Wilderness Great World's Fortune Mainland's transmission array leads directly to Earth, or rather, to the Source World. Since the cultivators of the immortal Tao civilization have moved the entire Earth over, if I really use the transmission array directly from the Fortune Mainland, there's a high probability that I'll reach Earth directly. Xing Hui looked at the dead starry sky in front of him. His worry for the unknown of Earth made him a little anxious. Even though he guessed that Earth would not be persecuted if it fell into the hands of the immortal Tao civilization, but the difference between the Earth civilization and the immortal Tao civilization was too great. The technological level of the Earth civilization was at most around the 10th level, but the immortal Tao civilization, even the immortal Tao civilization lurking in the Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy would not be lower than level 17. This was equivalent to the difference between a Golden Core Realm cultivator and a Transversal Realm cultivator. Even if both sides belonged to the same camp, if the Transversal Realm cultivator was dissatisfied with the Golden Core Realm cultivator, he could kill the Golden Core Realm cultivator with a wave of his hand. Where is the immortal Tao civilization hiding? Xing Hui muttered to himself. Just as Xing Hui was searching aimlessly, a message was suddenly picked out by his interstellar compass. Buzz buzz. Request for help, we are a level 14 civilization, the Hunyuan civilization. We have been attacked by an unknown force, suspected to be an immortal Tao civilization, requesting help from the Andromeda Civilization Alliance, Hunyuan civilization. Suspected to be attacked by an immortal Tao civilization. Xing Hui's gaze immediately locked onto this message. At the same time, he activated the tracking function of the interstellar compass to trace the source of this message. In the lineage of the Time Lord, level 12 and below belonged to the galactic civilization. Only level 13 could be called a true galactic civilization and be qualified to travel through space. Although the Hunyuan civilization in front of him had reached level 14 and had the ability to fly faster than the speed of light, its flying speed would definitely not exceed 10 times the speed of light. This distress message could only be broadcasted to 100 light-years away. Unless a high-level civilization passed by countless years later, it would be impossible for it to be captured by the Andromeda Civilization Alliance. At that time, the immortal Tao civilization would have already taken away what they wanted and gone into hiding again. Found it, the source of the message is 6 light-years away. Damn it, this message is actually not transmitted over a long distance, but at the speed of light. In other words, it has been 6 years since they were attacked. I hope the immortal Tao civilization hasn't left yet. Tsing Hui immediately put away this level 15 spaceship. His spaceship could only fly at 80 times the speed of light. If he wanted to rely on this spaceship to travel 6 light-years away, it would take him nearly a month. Fortunately, during these 3 years of aimless wandering, he did not gain nothing. Not only did he have a deeper understanding of his own path, but he also took the opportunity to learn the dimensional jump method of the Time Lord civilization. 6 light-years, to him, was not a distance at all. As Tsing Hui appeared in the starry sky, in the next moment, his figure leaped. Among the 4 great fundamentals that the universe had blessed him with, the power of logic, the power of causality, and even the other laws that had been deprived by the Lord of Chaos and the Lord of Gods, as well as the remaining laws of the universe itself, all dissipated. He easily broke free from the shackles of these laws and allowed himself to escape into the high-dimensional space opened up by the Time Lord. Then, according to the coordinates of the message, he immediately descended. In less than a few breaths, his figure had already reappeared from the high-dimensional space and descended into the low-dimensional space. The descent of the dimension caused a mighty energy to sweep out from his body. It spread in all directions like a solar storm, causing energy to the galaxy in front of him that was not inferior to the energy of a star eruption. However, before this energy had time to spread, Tsing Hui had already waved his hand and dispersed all the energy that had erupted. At the same time, he immediately looked toward the Hunyuan civilization. Although the Man-Cloud civilization was a rank 14 civilization, it was obvious that they did not have much research in interstellar navigation. Apart from developing 12 mineral planets in their own galaxy and modifying a planet in the habitable zone, they did not have any other administrative planets. In other words, this was a small civilization whose influence had just stepped out of its own galaxy and was less than a light-year away. Tsing Hui's gaze swept across and could clearly see the traces of war left behind by this civilization. No. It could not be called a war. It should be a one-sided crushing. At the very least, Tsing Hui could see that the number of battleships of this civilization was less than 30. Based on the level of a level 14 civilization, they should have accumulated 1,000 to 10,000 battleships. The reason why there were less than 30 battleships left was needless to say, all of them had been destroyed. From the looks of it, the war ended 4 years ago. To end the war in 2 years and destroy a level 14 civilization, it should be a level 16 Immortal Path expert who took action. Level 16 Immortal Path experts do not have the ability to master dimensional jump. If they were to fly faster than light, their speed should not exceed 1,000 times the speed of light. In other words, the fastest they could have left this civilization was only 4,000 light-years away. Tsing Hui's eyes flashed, and he quickly searched for traces of the Immortal Path civilization's cultivators retreating. Soon, he had already cast his gaze on a nearby star system. The Immortal Path civilization's cultivators wanted to use the influence of that star to erase their traces. However, 4 years was still a little short. Their method of erasing traces would have been given up by an expert who could create worlds with a single thought. Only a primal chaos realm expert would be able to use instruments to track their direction. However, a level 16 Immortal Path expert, a primal chaos realm expert, would probably be too lazy to chase after them even if they could detect their direction. After all, a level 16 Immortal Path expert was only comparable to a divine true body expert. The difference was too great. However, it was different for Tsing Hui. He had searched the universe for 3 years without finding any clues. Now that there was even the slightest trace, he was not willing to give up. Moreover, he understood that those who could move stars were at least level 18 immortal path experts. In other words, there must be an immortal path organization led by a level 18 immortal path expert hiding in this star field. If this level 16 immortal path expert in front of him was related to that level 18 immortal path expert, he might be able to track down that level 18 immortal path expert, just like how he had found true God Aixen, and from there, find Earth. With that thought in mind, Tsing Hui took a step forward, and with the help of a high-dimensional warp, he traversed 10 light-years in front of him. After traveling 10 light-years, Tsing Hui once again sensed the traces left behind by that level 16 immortal path expert. After slightly altering his direction of pursuit, he once again gave chase. Using warp drive to travel at faster than light speed required the modification of spacetime. This kind of trace was not so easy to erase in a short period of time. Even if that level 16 immortal path expert consciously erased the traces he had left behind, he still could not escape Tsing Hui's detection. 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, Tsing Hui performed dimensional warps time and time again, constantly closing in on that level 16 immortal path expert. During the process, he could clearly sense that he was getting closer and closer to that level 16 immortal path expert. When he performed another dimensional jump, a spaceship flying faster than the speed of light appeared in front of him. 400 light-years. It seems that after using his own ability to fly for a certain distance, he used a spaceship from a level 16 immortal path civilization to avoid arousing suspicion. These people from the immortal path civilization are so well hidden. It's no wonder that even with the help of the galactic compass and my own realm not inferior to those level 3 Chaos Realm experts, it took me 3 years to find a trace of them. Tsing Hui stared at the spaceship. Let me see their course. Tsing Hui took out the lucky star, and with the help of the photon computer on the lucky star, he quickly broke through the defense system of the immortal path civilization's cultivators and obtained their star map. However, apart from their destination, they had erased all other traces on the star map. It could be said that they were extremely cautious. Their destination is the Shui civilization. I've investigated this civilization before, and there are no traces of the Immortal Path civilization. It seems that they still have a mission. With the speed of their spaceship, it will take at least 14 years to reach the Shui civilization. I can't wait that long. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui did not waste any more time. With a clench of his hand, the spaceship that was flying at full speed was directly grabbed by his hand, and he forcefully pulled it out of warp drive. Chapter 836. Oh no, we've been attacked. Could it be the Manyan civilization? But we've obviously disguised ourselves well and eliminated all traces. Even a rank 18 civilization might not be able to find out that we're the culprits. At this moment, in the spaceship that Tsing Hui had captured, the 3 leaders, 2 men and 1 woman, as well as the dozens of people in charge of maintaining the normal operations of the spaceship, were panicking. Don't panic. We're disguised as cultivators from a technological civilization under the Time Lord. As long as we don't use the Immortal Path secret technique, no one will be able to see through our identities. There's a civilization alliance in the Andromeda Galaxy. It's formed by 2 rank 17 civilizations and 44 rank 16 civilizations. Meaningless invasions and attacks are prohibited. Although we've been captured, I'm sure he won't dare to harm our lives. The middle-aged man, who had the highest status among the 3 leaders, spoke in a low voice. At the same time, he ordered the 2 people beside him, Ting Yin, go and stabilize the other members. Fu Zhen, try to contact this powerful individual who captured our spaceship alive. Ah, Lord Moving Mountain. The 2 responded and were about to take action, but at this moment, the central computer in the spaceship opened the door, and a figure appeared in front of the 3 of them. Hello, cultivators from the Immortal Path civilization. The one who stepped in was Tsing Hui. Immortal Path civilization. When Qing Su said those 4 words personally, Moving Mountain, Ting Yin, and Fu Jian, who were in the lead, immediately felt like their breathing had stopped slightly. However, very soon, Moving Mountain forced himself to calm down. Emissary of the great advanced civilization, may I ask if you're talking about the immortal civilization? I think there must be some misunderstanding. We're not members of the Immortal Path civilization. We're from the distant Shui civilization, a rank 16 civilization. Now, we're returning to our own civilization. May I know what instructions you have for stopping us? Shui or civilization? Qing Su understood after a little thought. They must have infiltrated quite a lot of this civilization, which allowed them to obtain an identity on the surface. However, to infiltrate a level 16 civilization, your immortal Dao civilization must have a virtual immortal equivalent to a level 17 expert, right? The last time I scouted the Shui civilization, it was only a fleeting glance. If there really is a rank 17 false immortal hiding there, with the false immortal's ability to change between reality and illusion, it is indeed possible for me to overlook their existence. Then, as you said, I will bring you to the Shui civilization to see if that false immortal is still there. After Tsinghui finished speaking, he did not give the three of them any time to react. He led the three of them, and even their entire spaceship, and directly started a dimensional jump. When he burst out with a powerful energy and broke through the dimensional barrier to enter the higher dimensional space, and then descended from the higher dimensional space to the lower dimensional space to complete a jump, the faces of the people on the battleship turned pale at the same time. Dimensional jump, and it doesn't rely on any external equipment. It relies entirely on its own strength to jump. This is an ability that only a level 18 life form can fully grasp. True immortal, this life form before us is a true immortal. Moving Mountain felt a faint sense of despair in his heart. He could not understand why an existence equivalent to a true immortal would suddenly target them. It should be known that although the bounty for the cultivators of their immortal Dao civilization was extremely high, it was not enough for a true immortal to mobilize such a large force for them. After all, a true immortal was far inferior to a divine true body. If they really allowed this life form equivalent to a level 18 true immortal to go to the Shui civilization and find the virtual immortal fairy Rosy Cloud who happened to be hiding there on a mission, then they would be the greatest sinners of their civilization. Captain, the power this life form uses does not seem to be the transformation of a technological civilization, nor does it seem to be the divine kingdom of a god. I can sense a trace of the direction of evolution of a chaotic creature on him. Someone from the Master of Chaos? What's the use of that? The Master of Chaos, the Master of Time, and the Master of Gods are all our enemies. They can't wait for the immortal Dao civilization to be destroyed. Only when we are completely destroyed and the broken great Dao that belongs to us vanishes forever will this universe be completely unobstructed to them. They can then easily radiate their power throughout the universe and control its life and death. It won't be like now, where they can radiate their own power but are disrupted by the great Tao. Their consciousness can't monitor every corner of the area their power radiates. Moving Mountain's heart went cold. You don't have to worry. I bear no ill will towards your civilization, and I don't plan to send you to the Master of Chaos for merit points. At this moment, Qing Su's voice suddenly interrupted the conversation of the three of them. When the three of them heard this, they were so frightened that their faces turned deathly pale. You! How can you capture our consciousness? Our consciousness is highly condensed, even the Master of Spirit under the Master of Time's command who is most proficient in the development of spiritual force cannot decipher our consciousness transmission. How can you, who comes from the direction of evolution of a chaotic creature? Consciousness transmission? Is this called consciousness? It is indeed very exquisite. Even a rank 18 true God, a world with a thought expert, or even a master of spirit might not be able to decipher it. Unfortunately, I can easily capture the information in your consciousness transmission, so your conversation is happening right under my nose. I can't not listen even if I want to. Of course, you don't have to worry. Even if your consciousness transmission has exposed the fact that you belong to the immortal Tao civilization, as I said, I bear no ill will towards you. You don't have to worry about your lives being threatened. Just bring me to the person in charge of your galaxy. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, a violent energy wave came from all around them. This was the release of energy that naturally existed when a higher dimension descended to a lower dimension. We've arrived at the Shui Air civilization. We've arrived. Moving Mountain's heart trembled. They were more than 1,400 light-years away from the Shui Air civilization. Even if they did a dimensional jump, it would take at least a few dozen or even a few hundred times. But just now, how many dimensional jumps did this terrifying being make? 3 or 4. 3 or 400 light-years in a single jump. It should be known that the further a dimensional jump was, the more energy was needed, and the greater the burden on the body. Without the help of external objects, a rank 18 lifeform could only jump 10 light-years at most, and a rank 19 lifeform could not jump more than 100 light-years at most. But now, this rank 18 lifeform in front of them had relied on its own ability to jump 3 or 400 light-years in a single jump, rank 20. This was a great feat that only a rank 20 lifeform could achieve. In other words, this terrifying being was very likely an existence equivalent to a Grand Luo immortal in the immortal Tao civilization. Let me carefully sense the location of that pseudo-immortal. Last time, I only caught a glimpse and didn't get a good look. Tsing Hui stopped outside the Shui Air civilization. Although the Shui Air civilization was also a rank 16 civilization, compared to the GMO civilization that ruled the Milky Way, it was a little weaker. Its area of control was only 60 light-years, and its range of influence was less than 1,000 light-years. After all, there were 2 rank 17 civilizations above them, and they did not dare to be as unscrupulous as the GMO civilization when it came to obtaining resources in the galaxy. It's hidden very well, but, after reducing the range from a few galaxies of tens of millions of light-years to 60 light-years, it's still very easy to find it. Oh, found it. Tsing Hui carefully sensed for less than half a day and quickly sensed that something was amiss. In fact, this was all thanks to Moving Mountain and the others. This was because he sensed that the pseudo-immortal existence was quietly retreating. Clearly, Moving Mountain had used a method unknown to him to send a message to the rank 17 pseudo-immortal Kai Yun, asking her to quickly escape. If that pseudo-immortal had not moved, Tsing Hui would have had to spend several years or even a decade to find her. However, when she moved, there was naturally a fluctuation that spread out and was naturally captured by Tsing Hui. It should be within this 1 billion kilometer range. I don't know which region it is exactly, but I can roughly deduce it. Then, Tsing Hui took a deep breath and suddenly shot toward that region. At the same time, he activated his Great Tao's existence force to the extreme. The Great Tao was the cornerstone of the world's existence. For example, in the territory of the Time King, it was formed by the 4 fundamental forces, the force of causality, and the force of logic. In addition to these 6 types of laws, there were also broken laws similar to the laws of space and time, as well as the laws that originally existed in this universe. It was precisely because of the existence of these laws that the normal operation of the universe was maintained. However, right now, Tsing Hui was activating his own Great Tao's existence force, which was equivalent to injecting a new Great Tao's law into this completely operating universe's laws. It was like a precision machine that suddenly had a screw added to it. Naturally, it would malfunction. As his Great Tao's existence force spread, the laws in this territory were immediately disrupted. The false immortal Kai Yun, who was trying to sneak away using a method that Tsing Hui could not comprehend, was immediately exposed. Even her palace treasure was clearly displayed in front of Tsing Hui. After being exposed, the female false immortal called Kai Yun's pretty face paled. She made a prompt decision without any hesitation. Kuan Jing used the heavenly abode instrument to send a message to the Grand Unity Immortal Lord at maximum power. Tell him to retreat from this galaxy as quickly as possible. We've been exposed. We've been targeted by a powerful being with his own Tao. Tell him to leave quickly, the further the better. After sending the message, immediately destroy the heavenly abode instrument. Don't leave any traces that can be tracked. Understood. The 16th level cultivator called Long Kuan agreed with a painful gaze. This was the fate of all cultivators of the immortal Tao civilization. Once exposed, they would immediately have the upper echelons flee and completely hide. Meanwhile, they would sever all connections with the upper echelons and willingly become an abandoned pawn. They would use the last of their lives to buy time for the upper echelons to retreat. Wait. It took Tsing Hui some time to decipher Fairy Rosy Cloud's message. He hurriedly tried to stop her. However, almost as soon as he spoke, an obscure message that even Tsing Hui himself could only vaguely sense quietly dissipated. Then, a violent explosion rang out from the palace treasure, completely erasing all traces of the message. It was clear that Kuan Jing had perfectly carried out Fairy Rosy Cloud's orders. He had used the heavenly abode instrument to send a message and destroyed it. Tsing Hui was speechless when he understood this. The struggle for the great Tao is indomitable. The immortal cultivators of the immortal Tao civilization fight against the heavens, against the earth, and against men. You can destroy the form of our immortal Tao civilization, but you can never destroy our will. Fellow immortals, I'm very happy to have been able to work with all of you over the years. Now, let us join forces for one last time. Burn your immortal force and shine with the radiance of our immortal Tao civilization. Let these invaders understand that the will of our immortal Tao civilization will never yield. We will fight to the last man. Kill. Chapter 837. Since you call yourself a fairy, it's not good for a fairy to fight and kill all the time. Tsing Hui looked at Fairy Rosy Cloud and the others, who looked like they would burn their immortal energy to fight him to the death in the next moment. Speechlessly, he pointed his finger and the great Tao circulated. The power of laws in the surroundings was completely expelled and even cut off by his finger. Immediately, the immortal energy circulating in the bodies of Fairy Rosy Cloud and the others almost stagnated. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he once again attacked with his true body. With a thunderous blow, he destroyed the protective magic treasures and immortal techniques of Fairy Rosy Cloud and the others on the spot, suppressing all the cultivators of the immortal Tao civilization in the entire palace. Great divine ability, feeling the power of the great Tao being expelled from the surroundings, Fairy Rosy Cloud's face was filled with despair. Although the power of laws of the great Tao used by Tsing Hui was much weaker than that of a true great divine ability, Fairy Rosy Cloud herself was only at the 17th level. In her opinion, a great divine ability would naturally not use all his strength to capture her alive. The more she thought of it, the more despair she felt in her heart. This galaxy is within the range of the Time Lord's power, so I can't use the personal space that the Son of Chaos can use. This is troublesome. It seems that when I have enough merit points, I'll have to exchange for a spatial artifact that can accommodate living things to imprison the targets I capture alive. As Tsing Hui spoke, he quickly captured the 100 or so cultivators of the immortal Tao civilization led by Fairy Rosy Cloud and brought them into his 17th level spaceship, the Lucky Star. When the spaceship was first designed, it had considered the need to capture targets. There were several rooms specially used to imprison captives. Don't even think about getting the whereabouts of any of my fellow immortals out of me. Fairy Rosy Cloud glared at Tsing Hui, her eyes full of anger. I've said that there's a misunderstanding between us. I don't have any malice toward you. In fact, I can also be called an inheritor of the immortal Tao civilization. Tsing Hui said. Fairy Rosy Cloud looked at Tsing Hui with a sneer, as if she would rather die than reveal anything to him. Tsing Hui turned to look at the others. Just now, I sensed that a piece of information had been sent out by you. The instrument used to transmit the information is quite mysterious. I can't track the location of the information. So, if I can't find the location of the Grand Unity Immortal Master you speak of in a short time, the Grand Unity Immortal Master you speak of will soon change his target and go into hiding? That's right, after so many years, we have already gained a full understanding of your cultivation powers, and we already possess special magic treasures that can block your senses. If you want to use normal methods to find a void transformation immortal monarch, it is simply a pipe dream. Even if you use special treasures, you will have to spend thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. As a great divine ability user, you must have an important position. How can you leave your position for thousands of years? The leader of the group, Kuan Jing, said coldly. Thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. Xing Hui looked at these people, and then glanced at Fairy Rosy Cloud, who was the leader. I don't mean to deal with you. I want to find the immortal Tao civilization. My real purpose is to confirm whether you have taken away a star in the solar system of the Orion arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Hearing Xing Hui's words, the others did not have much of a reaction. However, Xing Hui could clearly sense the mental fluctuations of Fairy Rosy Cloud at that moment. Although she had quickly concealed her mental fluctuations, Xing Hui still felt them. His gaze fell directly on Fairy Rosy Cloud. Very well, it seems that you know something. Now tell me, who took that star? Where are they now? Fairy Rosy Cloud looked coldly at Xing Hui, her pretty face full of mockery. She seemed to be mocking his attitude of questioning her. I've said it before, I don't have any enmity towards you. I only want that star. Xing Hui was somewhat displeased. However, as soon as he said this, he immediately felt that there was something wrong with his words. What did she mean by he only wanted that star? That was the source world. Who wouldn't want it? Compared to him, who was obviously a great master of the Master of Chaos, the source world was obviously more important in the eyes of the immortal Tao civilization. As expected. The sneer on Fairy Rosy Cloud's face became even more pronounced. Xing Hui knew that he could not use conventional methods to obtain the whereabouts of the immortal Tao civilization from Fairy Rosy Cloud. He immediately turned his gaze to the 100 or so immortal Tao civilization cultivators he had captured alive. Fairy Rosy Cloud, right? Even if you don't think for yourself, you should at least think for your subordinates. Perhaps you are not afraid of death and will not hesitate to sacrifice your life for the legacy of the immortal Tao civilization, but your subordinates. Before we accepted the mission to hide in the Andromeda Galaxy, we were already prepared to sacrifice ourselves. Before Xing Hui could finish, he was interrupted by these people. For the glory of our immortal Tao civilization to reappear, we are not afraid to sacrifice ourselves. Invader. No, you can't even be considered an invader. You are just a bunch of pitiful creatures who have been deceived by the Master of Chaos. Wake up. Don't forget that this is our world. Whether it's the Master of Chaos, the Master of Time, or the Master of Gods, they are all despicable and cruel invaders who have brought endless pain and suffering to our world. What you're doing now is only helping the evildoers commit their crimes. Their eyes flashed with determination. None of them had the slightest fear in their hearts. Some of them even looked at him with a trace of pity. It was as if Xing Hui was the one being held captive and had no control over their own life and death, not them. Those who are awake are in the minority after all. Or rather, even if they are awake, they still choose to pretend to be asleep because they don't want to lose this beautiful life and give up the lofty power they currently possess. You will never be able to wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep. Fairy Rosy Cloud looked coldly at Xing Hui as she spoke. I've said before that you have a sharp butcher's knife. We can't stop the butcher's knife from destroying our life form, but you will never be able to rely on the butcher's knife to destroy our spirit and will. The glory of the immortal Tao civilization is eternal and everlasting. Xing Hui looked at Fairy Rosy Cloud and the hundreds of immortal Tao civilization cultivators who had come with her. He could see and feel that these people had truly disregarded their own life and death. Although some of them were afraid of death, their noble dedication to the immortal Tao civilization suppressed their fear of death. They wanted to ask about the world of Earth, which was what the immortal Tao civilization referred to as the origin world, from these people. But the immortal Tao civilization didn't seem to care about the world of Earth. It was basically impossible. Even if you were to tell them that he was born in the source world, they would never believe him. Even if Tsing Hui gave them the opportunity to contact the void immortal monarchs and ask them to verify his information from the people on Earth, they would not do so. The means of the great divine masters were too profound, and the source world was too important to the immortal Tao civilization. They did not dare to guarantee that letting them go would not be a show of playing hard to get. Even if they really did contact the forces of the void immortal monarchs one day, it would probably only be after they were completely certain of their safety. The time needed for this would be calculated in thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Tsing Hui, who had realized this problem, was silent for a long time. After a long while, he raised his head and looked at Fairy Rosy Cloud and the others. "I mean you no harm, and I also mean no harm to the immortal Tao civilization. Back then, I had the help of a Tai sword spirit. I will prove this to you." Fairy Rosy Cloud looked at Tsing Hui, her expression as cold as ever. Clearly, she had made it clear that she would not be bewitched by Tsing Hui's words or even his mind. "It seems that I can only take a detour from the Kuan Dragon Great World and the True Sun Great World to return to the Divine Wilderness Great World. After going in a big circle, it's actually useless. I don't even have to worry about killing True God Aixin. Since a Tai immortal monarch from the immortal Tao civilization has intervened in this matter, True God Aixin's threat to the Earth civilization will naturally be resolved." Tsing Hui shook his head and gave up the idea of getting information about Earth from Fairy Rosy Cloud. Among these people, only Fairy Rosy Cloud knew about Earth. Even if he killed Fairy Rosy Cloud might not tell him about Earth. As for the other immortal Tao civilizations, Tsing Hui did not intend to continue searching. Not to mention that finding an immortal Tao civilization depended entirely on luck. Even if he was lucky enough to find an immortal Tao civilization, that immortal Tao civilization might not belong to the Void Transformation Immortal Monarch. Even if it did belong to the Void Transformation Immortal Monarch, it would be very difficult for him to find out the whereabouts of the Void Transformation Immortal Monarch from those civilizations. It would be a waste of time to continue searching. It would be better to directly teleport from the Divine Wilderness Great World to Earth. In any case, Earth had now been taken away by the Void Transformation Immortal Monarch of the Immortal Tao civilization. If the Void Transformation Immortal Monarch wanted to harm the humans on Earth, most of them would have already died. If he valued the humans on Earth, then the humans on Earth would have already embarked on the path of immortal cultivators. With the support of a Void Transformation Immortal Monarch, a large number of Golden Core Realm, Transcendent Realm, Astronomical Phenomenon Realm, and even Divine Realm cultivators would be born on Earth in the next 100 years. According to his understanding, the immortal Tao civilization was more proficient in prolonging one's life than the Master of Primal Chaos. Breaking through to the 7th order would give one a lifespan of over 1,000 years. If one could cultivate to the 13th order, which was equivalent to the Divine Realm, it would not be a problem to live for tens of thousands of years. He would not have to worry about wasting too much time and his father facing the misfortune of dying of old age. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, it will depend on the fortune of our civilization. Tsing Hui sighed and was about to return to the 823rd District's command center. But at that moment, his identity token suddenly projected a figure. It was the vice captain of the Golden Rock Squad, Inu. Inu was slightly startled when he saw that the message was connected. Then, he said in pleasant surprise, "Dong Yang, it's you. Where are you? If the message is connected, the distance between us should not be more than 10 million light-years. I'm in the Andromeda Galaxy." Tsing Hui said. "Andromeda Galaxy, that's great. We're in the Triangular Galaxy. Dong Yang, we've been targeted by a 19th Order civilization. We need your help. Considering the help the Golden Rock Squad could provide him, Xing Hui hesitated for a moment before coming to a decision. Give me your location. I'll be there immediately. Chapter 838. The 823rd War Zone was responsible for about 600 galaxies, covering an area of about 80 million light-years. Among these 600 galaxies, although the Andromeda Galaxy and the Milky Way Galaxy were larger in size, they were close to the headquarters and did not have any powerful civilizations. Although the Triangular Galaxy was not far from the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy, the headquarters of the Time King's lineage was also located in the same galaxy, so it had the advantage of being closer to the headquarters. This galaxy, which was much smaller than the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy, had dozens of level 18 civilizations and one level 19 civilization. When Xing Hui received the distress signal from Silver Feather and the others, he did not delay and headed toward the location they had shared with him at the fastest speed possible. Along the way, he relied on his understanding of high-level dimensions and the strength of his own body to continuously perform dimensional jumps. Each jump allowed him to travel at least a few hundred light-years. This number might not be huge compared to 100,000 times the speed of light, but 100,000 times the speed of light would require a year to travel 100,000 light-years. However, the dimensional jumps that Qing Su could perform right now allowed him to travel 400 to 500 light-years in a single go, and he could perform almost 1,000 dimensional jumps in a single day if he traveled at full speed. In other words, he could travel 400 to 500,000 light-years in a single day. Compared to 100,000 times the speed of light, this was more than 1,000 times faster. In terms of speed, even if I can't compare to those truly powerful beings, I'm not much slower than a ruler. While Xing Hui was performing dimensional jumps, he was still thinking about other things. Unfortunately, dimensional jumps could only be performed through high-level dimensions that the Time King had set up in his territory. In the world of the Master of Chaos, if one wanted to travel between two worlds, they still had to rely on teleportation formations and void travel. Compared to the dimensional jumps of the Time King's lineage, the efficiency was greatly reduced. This was also the reason why the Master of Chaos, who obviously had stronger combat power than the Time King and the Master of Gods, gradually became disadvantageous as he occupied more and more territory and resources. In terms of speed, the Master of Chaos was lagging behind the Time King. Silver Feather, I've arrived. What's your specific location? Xing Hui immediately sent a message after entering the Triangular Galaxy. You've arrived. Silver Feather, who received the message, was slightly stunned and seemed to be in disbelief. You bought a spaceship from a level 21 civilization. I'll send you our current location. Not long after, Xing Hui received a message from Silver Feather. It's not far. It's only 3,000 light-years away. The next moment, he had already started another dimensional jump. Dimension jumps placed a huge burden on the cultivator's body. Even Supremes at the first tier of the Primal Chaos realm who frequently performed dimension jumps, the moment they ascended and descended, the energy released would constantly affect their body. Over time, their body would still be damaged. It was just like an ordinary person running. Running a few thousand meters was training, but running tens of thousands of meters without caring about the limits of one's body would only harm one's body. Only dominators who had cultivated the sacred body of origin could continuously perform dimensional jumps. However, they relied on the power of circulation in their bodies to resist the burden of dimensional jumps. They were not like Xing Hui, who relied on the uniqueness of his own Tao to jump out of the three realms and not within the five elements to be almost unaffected by dimensional jumps. If not for the fact that his own Tao was too weak, there would not have been any ripples when he descended from a high-dimensional space to a low-dimensional space. It's just ahead. As Xing Hui completed his 8th dimensional jump, a dazzling explosion in the starry sky appeared in front of him. It was the light emitted by the detonation of a star. The detonation of a star would emit strong energy waves. Although it could not stop dimensional jumps, it had a huge impact on the cosmic tide and the warp drive. Clearly, Silver Feather and the others were using this method to stop the continuous pursuit of the technological civilization. Silver Feather, Golden Rock, Hallie. Tsing Hui's voice echoed in the ears of the Golden Rock team. Dong Yang, you're here already. Where's your spaceship? Quick, let's use your spaceship to escape. Although this civilization has reached level 19, their development is very abnormal. Their advantage is limited to war. In terms of speed, they're only at the level of a level 18 civilization. If your spaceship can arrive so quickly, it must have the ability to perform dimensional jumps. Dimensional jumps are not affected by the black hole, so we can retreat. Silver Feather's anxious voice could be heard. Black hole. Tsing Hui looked ahead. In the huge fleet of battleships in front of him, he could feel the existence of a few thousand special celestial bodies. These celestial bodies were mostly neutron star fortresses with a diameter of less than 10 kilometers. Other than the neutron star fortresses, there were 6 black holes that were difficult to be seen by the naked eye. Before level 19, the technological civilization under the Time King was limited by matter. In other words, no matter what kind of battleship they built, they had to rely on material energy, such as meteorites, planets, stars, and so on. However, after a civilization reached level 19, they could use the power of the Great Path Order to create something out of nothing and transform the void into energy. As such, the energy that they controlled was almost endless. In fact, this was similar to the nature of the Great Path Order that the giants in the Chaos Realm could obtain. In terms of power, these black holes are not much weaker than the black holes that real God Ikisi transformed into. No wonder Inu and the others found it difficult to escape even though they had the protection of the Golden Rock, an expert who had refined his body to rank 18. Level 19 civilization, if I have the time, I would like to see how different they are. However, for now, I have to return to Kuan Dragon Great World and borrow True Sun Great World and Divine Wilderness Great World from Kuan Dragon Great World to return to Earth. I shall not waste any more time on you. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he went forward and grabbed the battleship that Silver Feather, Golden Rock, Hail, and the others were on. Then, the surrounding dimension began to change. As the dimension rose, there was a large amount of energy vacuum in the surroundings, causing waves and storms in the endless sea of stars. Instantly, the battleships that were planning to continue attacking were frightened. However, just as Tsing Hui was planning to escape completely, a ripple exploded from a battleship that was hidden very deeply in front of him. Not only did it interfere with the stability of the dimension that Tsing Hui was in, but it also reduced the dimension to a certain degree. It also separated the universe from the main universe, forming a small universe with a diameter of tens of light years. Universe slicing technique. This is the universe slicing technique that only a level 20 civilization can master. How is this possible? How could this civilization have developed to this extent in just 10,000 years? Silver Feather could not help but widen his eyes when he saw this scene. A level 20 civilization, Tsing Hui was also somewhat surprised. A level 19 civilization upgrading to a level 20 civilization was not a good sign. He could fight against a level 19 civilization, but it did not mean that he could do anything to a level 20 civilization. The balance of the small universe is being destroyed at an extremely fast speed. It's the principle of entropy increase. They plan to use entropy increase to destroy this small universe, burying us and the small universe together. Silver Feather immediately sensed the intention of the other party's attack method. This was a terrifying method that could directly destroy a small universe. In the territory of the Lord of Chaos, it could destroy a great world and even kill a sovereign who had cultivated the Origin sacred body. Fortunately, this civilization's technology was obviously not perfect. With a glance, Tsing Hui could still faintly sense the connection between this small universe that had been cut out and the great universe. In addition, the entropy increase attack used by this level 20 civilization was relatively slow. According to Tsing Hui's speculation, it would take about a month for him to use entropy increase to destroy this small universe with a diameter of 40 light-years. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui did not dare to delay. He exerted his unique ability to exist and not exist to the extreme. For a time, not to mention the 6 laws of nature in the territory of the Lord of Time, even the ancient laws left behind in the original universe were at their lowest point. After grasping an opportunity, his body suddenly shuttled, directly following the connection between the small universe and the great universe. He shuttled out of this small universe and returned to the great universe once again. After arriving at the great universe, Tsing Hui did not dare to delay any further and began to perform a dimensional jump at full speed. He was interested in learning more about a level 19 technological civilization and even using this civilization to verify the differences between them and himself. However, a level 20 civilization, that was equivalent to a second-tier sovereign. Before Tsing Hui refined his true body to the next level, he did not intend to confront such a civilization head-on. Buzz buzz. Relying on the dimensional jump, Tsing Hui quickly left the battlefield and appeared a few hundred light-years away. However, this distance was still not considered safe for a level 20 civilization. He had no choice but to perform a second dimensional jump. It was only when he was more than 1,000,000 light-years away from the level 20 civilization that Tsing Hui slowed down his dimensional jump. "We should be out of danger now," Tsing Hui said. Silver Feather, Golden Rock, and the others were relieved. Fortunately, the technological civilization under the rule of the Time King has a different cultivation direction from us. A level 20 technological civilization only has the ability to kill a second-tier sovereign with all its fleets combined. What attacked us just now was only a single fleet from that level 20 civilization, which is equivalent to the incarnation of a sovereign. Otherwise, we might not even have been able to escape from this civilization. Tsing Hui nodded and asked, "How did you provoke this level 20 civilization? Also, there's a level 20 civilization in the triangular galaxy. This matter is too inconceivable. You might not believe it, but according to our understanding, this civilization should only have rank 17. Level 17. Silver Feather nodded heavily. 4,000 years ago, we came into contact with this civilization. At that time, this civilization was indeed only level 17. However, based on our understanding, this civilization took less than 3,000 years to reach level 17 from level 13. This means that it has not been more than 20,000 years since their birth. 3,000 years? You mean to say that this civilization only used 7,000 years to advance from level 13, which is equivalent to a domain realm, to level 20, which is comparable to a sovereign? Tsing Hui was shocked. Yes. This is the main reason we came to this war zone this time. However, we did not expect them to evolve to level 20 in such a short time. If not for you, Dong Yang, our team would have been defeated. Golden Rock said, his words filled with gratitude towards Tsing Hui and joy at escaping death. Chapter 839. There must be a great secret in this civilization. Could it be that they've inherited some top civilization's legacy? Qing Su also developed quite a bit of curiosity towards this civilization. That's impossible. What kind of legacy could allow them to evolve from level 13 to level 20 in 7,000 years? The leap is too great. Even a top level 21 civilization might not have this ability. Golden Rock paused for a moment. Unless they have the support of the evil god. Captain, don't forget that aside from the evil god, the Time Lord also has this ability. Silver Feather said. The Time Lord? Yes, the Time Lord. Silver Feather nodded heavily. We should have noticed it during our battle with them. The strength of this civilization doesn't lie in the advanced level of their battleships. Instead, it lies in their numbers and control. Because their battleships aren't particularly advanced, we mistook them for a level 19 civilization before they used the cosmic severing technology. We almost put Dongyang in danger because of our wrong judgment. When she said that, she gave Qing Su a rather apologetic gaze. Qing Su waved his hand and thought nothing of it. Instead, he asked with interest, "So you're saying, this civilization possesses computational ability so great that it exceeds their civilization level? The Time Lord gave them this power?" "Yes," Silver Feather said. "You said, Dong Yang and Captain, you should know that our Chaos Dominion has Taoist rhymes, the Lord of God's Dominion has divine rhymes, and the Lord of Time's Dominion has something called time rhymes. In fact, these three things are essentially the same. They are a special substance left behind after the destruction of the ancient universe. If we offer this substance to the great Lord of Chaos, we will be rewarded by the Lord of Chaos, which will increase our chaos level and give us all sorts of chaos characteristics. If the sorcerers and true gods in the Lord of God's dominion offer this substance to the Lord of Gods will bestow powerful divine spells upon them. As for the Lord of Time, he will bestow his civilization with powerful computing power. What is the most important thing for a technological civilization to evolve? Its computing power." Golden Rock nodded. Whether it was combat power or development potential, a technological civilization was inseparable from computing power. It could be said that the stronger the computing power of a civilization, the higher its development potential and the faster its development speed. The time prodigies under the Time King are the same as us prodigies of chaos. 100 Taoist rhymes can increase their level by 1 level. There are even existences similar to the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. If our deduction is correct, this special civilization called the God Civilization really relies on its computing power to develop at such a terrifying speed. In that case, the level of its time prodigy has most likely reached level 59. 59th step. Here's eyes widened. Are you serious? A ruler's chaos level was usually between level 45 and 59, and only a small number of powerful rulers could raise their chaos level to level 59 and above. Although this level 20 civilization had successfully evolved to the level of a ruler, his evolution was obviously very biased. Many aspects of his civilization were still stuck at level 18 or even 17. Could it be that he was already such a high-level child of time at that time? Where did they get so many Taoist rhymes from? Not level 18, but level 17. At level 17, his time prodigy should have reached level 59. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to develop to level 20 in a few thousand years. In fact, I had already deduced this a few thousand years ago. That's why I dragged Captain along to attack this civilization after he broke through to level 18 and possessed a level 18 physique. After all, the triangular galaxy is too close to the enemy's command center. Apart from a large number of level 17 and level 18 civilizations, there are also level 19 civilizations. Only after reaching level 18 will there be a guarantee of safety. Tsing Hui's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. If a civilization had inherited the legacy of another civilization, it would not have developed so unevenly. They were already at level 20, but many of the facilities were still at level 18. It was very likely that things were as Inu had guessed. The strength of this civilization came from its computing power. Computing power was linked to the level of a time prodigy. On the other hand, a son of time at the 17th or even the 13th level had already reached the 59th level. How similar was this characteristic of his? Could it be, the last piece of the creation divine jade was in this divine yen civilization? A moment later, Tsing Hui shook his head and rejected this idea. It was impossible for things to be so coincidental. Even if the divine yen civilization had really obtained a piece of the creation divine jade, it would only be a small piece. A small piece of creation divine jade would probably be able to provide them with some Taoist rhymes a day. In other words, they could at most raise their chaos level to level 44. Any higher than that would exceed the range of what the creation divine jade could provide. However, the time prodigy of this divine Yen civilization was not level 44 at all but level 59. Conservatively speaking, level 59 did not seem like a level that could be raised by the creation divine jade. It was very likely that this civilization had obtained the inheritance of a powerful civilization, or perhaps, they believed in the demon god and received the demon god's secret help. That was why they could develop to level 20 in such a short time. Since the demon god's power was different from the Time King's, he could only provide the aspects that he was proficient in. This had caused the development of the divine Yen civilization to be abnormal. In addition, the divine Yen civilization had clearly broken through to level 20 and was equivalent to the commander of this battle zone. However, they had been keeping a low profile all this while. Perhaps they were worried that news of them believing in the demon god would spread, so they did not dare to make it public. The most important thing now is to return to Earth through the divine wilderness great world as soon as possible. It won't be too late to investigate the divine Yen civilization after confirming the safety of Earth's civilization. Xing Hui thought to himself as he led Silver Feather, Golden Rock, and the others to the 823rd Battle Zone's command center. Due to the dimensional jump, it did not take long for them to return to the battle zone. Discovering a level 20 civilization is a great contribution. We will report this to the higher-ups now. Dong Yang, it's all thanks to you that we were able to force that civilization to reveal their level 20 technology. Therefore, we will not take a single cent of the rewards and will transfer them all to you. Golden Rock relaxed a little when they reached the command center. At the same time, he turned to Xing Hui and thanked him solemnly. Xing Hui wanted to refuse, but considering that he had many places where he needed to use his merit points to exchange for various treasures, he did not insist. He nodded and said, "Thank you very much. We should be the ones thanking you. If not for you, I'm afraid we would have died there," Golden Rock said. Golden Rock said. In fact, along the way, he could already tell that Xing Hui did not have a level 21 civilization spaceship at all. He had relied entirely on his understanding of the dimensions to perform dimensional jumps. In less than 100 years, his understanding of the dimensions had reached such a level. Xing Hui obviously had a big secret. However, since the two of them were teammates, they naturally had a tacit understanding of these secrets. On the contrary, they couldn't be happier to have such a great god in their team. Why would they ask for a rebuff by probing into the other's secrets and arouse the other's disgust, causing the other to leave the team? We are members of the same team. Naturally, we should support each other. Haha, that's right. We are a small team. Let's go and report the information. Golden Rock said and brought Xing Hui to the most majestic pyramid-like building in the command center. Soon, they arrived inside the pyramid. After using his identity card to activate the light screen and enter his information, he waited patiently. Not long after, a man with a level 18 physique flashed and appeared in front of Golden Rock, Xing Hui, Silver Feather, and the others. He asked directly, "Are you the ones who provided the information about a level 20 civilization?" "Yes. The great ruler Chero wants to see you. Please follow me." As the man spoke, he gestured with his hand and brought Xing Hui to the top of the pyramid. Golden Rock and the others were somewhat surprised, but it was understandable. After all, a level 20 civilization was equivalent to a dominator. Even though a ruler could destroy a level 20 civilization by launching sneak attacks in a one-on-one battle, if a level 20 civilization were to bring out all their battleships in a head-on battle, the threat of a level 20 civilization would be comparable to a few or even 10 rulers. In history, there had been cases where level 19 civilizations had used pack tactics to kill a Chaos Realm divine beast. I didn't expect to be summoned by a dominator. This is the third time I've seen a dominator in my life. The first time was when I was summoned to the battlefield and saw a dominator. The second time was when I witnessed a dominator destroy a level 19 civilization in a great battle. Both times, the Dominator was extremely far away from me. I've never been able to be personally summoned by a Dominator like this. Silver Feather was rather excited as she followed the man to the top of the pyramid. She was not the only one. The other captain, Golden Rock, also had a solemn expression. After all, a world with a thought was equivalent to a Dominator. The difference between them was too great. He had only been summoned by a Dominator once or twice in his long life. Following the man's lead, the group quickly arrived at a room at the top of the pyramid. Before even stepping into the room, Tsing Hui could already feel a faint pressure. However, this was a pressure formed by quantity over quality. Even though Tsing Hui felt it, he was able to evade this pressure by slightly using his special characteristics of existence and non-existence. As for Golden Rock and Silver Feather, the difference between them and Ruler Chero was too great, so they could not feel this pressure. They only felt that Ruler Chero was filled with an imposing aura that could not be looked at directly. Even though they were not close, they could not help but feel reverence in their hearts. Even the sound of their footsteps became lighter and slower. Chapter 840. Great Ruler Che Luo, the 3 members of the Golden Rock team have arrived. The man led the 3 of them into a large hall that was over 1,000 square meters in size and spoke respectfully to a man in the middle of hundreds of light screens. "All right, you may leave." The man in the middle of the hundreds of light screens waved his hand, and all the light screens disappeared. As the light screens disappeared, Tsing Hui finally saw Ruler Che Luo's appearance clearly. To be exact, he saw the operation of the mixed Yuan sacred body in his body. The man had clearly become a ruler not long ago and was unable to perfectly conceal the power of his mixed Yuan sacred body. This was why he had revealed it to Tsing Hui. Under Tsing Hui's gaze, the mixed Yuan sacred body in the man's body was a complete small universe. It was the same for the mixed Yuan sacred body, just like how a level 20 technological civilization had the technology to separate a small universe from a greater universe. However, they did not separate a small universe from a greater universe. Instead, they refined their own small worlds into a body. A small world that could be created with a thought required an endless supply of external energy to stabilize. Even a first-level chaotic realm supreme would need the support of the Great Tao to operate normally. However, the mixed Yuan sacred body did not need to do so. The universe within the immemorial sacred body was already a complete universe, and the Great Path precepts were formed in his body. Although these Great Path precepts were simulated from the outside world, it was already equivalent to an independent circulatory system. It was completely self-sufficient. Such a world could exist for an extremely long time even if the ruler, the master of the world, died. If the living beings inside were not allowed to remove the external world, they would never be able to determine whether they were living in the world of someone else's body or the real world. So this is the mixed Yuan sacred body, Tsing Hui muttered to himself. A complete small world. A small universe that could multiply endlessly. At this moment, he could not help but doubt the world he lived in. If the living beings in the universe of a second-level chaotic realm expert never left their own universe, they would never be able to determine whether they were living in the world of someone else's body or the real world. What about them? Who could guarantee that the great universe they lived in was not the world of some supreme being's body? Even the Lord of Time, the Lord of Chaos, and the Lord of Gods that were billions of light years in size, were they the same? However, they might exist at a higher level, or they might just be living in the timeline of some supreme existence. Even those supreme existences might only exist in the minds of some indescribable life forms. As his thoughts drifted, Tsing Hui suddenly fell silent. After who knew how long, the golden peng reminded Qin Su rather anxiously. Only then did he awaken from his doubts and speculations towards the unknown. Tsing Hui came back to his senses. He saw that Hegemon Chero's gaze had already landed upon him, and a hint of surprise and curiosity was in his eyes. "Your life form, is very strange. It's almost as though you are a unique existence that doesn't fit into the world at all. The various grand Daos of the world are unable to capture any information about you. If it wasn't for the fact that the energy in your body isn't very strong, I would have suspected that you might be a powerful divine ability who has transformed your body into the Tao. This might have something to do with the fact that I cultivate an ancient, broken grand Tao. Xinghui had already come up with an explanation for the fact that others might be able to see through him. Cultivators of ancient, broken grand Daos were in a similar state to him. Of course, they were just similar. An ancient, broken grand Tao, Hegemon Chero nodded slightly. Before this world was destroyed, it was an extremely grand world. It is said that it hides the mysteries of eternity. Some of the grand Daos that have been passed down through this world are equally mysterious. Unfortunately, these grand Daos are broken. Even if you study them, you won't be able to achieve much. Based on what I know, the people who have studied the ancient, broken grand Daos the most are only at the second tier of the primal chaos realm. To this day, no one has been able to transform their body into the Tao. I understand. However, since I've already embarked on this path and reached this level, I'm not willing to give up just like that. Thus, I will continue down this path. Hegemon Chero nodded, not thinking too much about it. After all, everyone knew about the flaws of the ancient grand Daos. He was only giving them some pointers because they had just accomplished something. Whether they listened or not was up to them. I've already learned about what happened from the Golden Rock. Based on what you said, that civilization is indeed quite unique. When the time comes, I will send an incarnation to personally investigate and see what secrets are hidden within. As for the two of you who discovered this world, I will reward you with 100,000 contribution points. 100,000 contribution points. Upon hearing this number, Silver Feather and the Golden Rock both stopped breathing. This was the equivalent of killing a Chaos Autarch or destroying a Tier 19 civilization. For them to receive such a generous reward, even if they had to risk their lives, it would be worth it. However, when they thought about the fact that they had already promised to give all of these contribution points to Xinghui, they couldn't help but sigh in regret. After all, they knew that if it weren't for Xinghui, they would never have been able to return alive and bring this news to Hegemon Chero. Thank you for your generosity, Hegemon Chero. The Golden Rock, Silver Feather, and Xinghui all spoke out in unison. Hegemon Chero chuckled. I'm quite interested in this civilization you provided me with. In addition, Tier 20 civilizations have only just reached Tier 20. It's best if we wipe them out before they mature. Otherwise, once they've matured, we'll be in trouble. After speaking, he continued, now that we've finished discussing official matters, let's talk about private matters. Private matters? Hegemon Chero's gaze fell upon Xinghui. The information I saw stated that you came from the Kun Dragon world. Yes. Xinghui grunted in response. A short while later, he seemed to have guessed something from Hegemon Chero's rather strange question, as well as the aura emanating from his body. He suddenly said, "Pardon me for asking, but what is your relationship with Autarch Chero of the Kun Dragon world?" "Didn't you already guess?" Hegemon Chero chuckled. "You." Hegemon Chero nodded. "I am Autarch Chero of the Kun Dragon world. It's been nearly 10,000 years since I last returned. How is the Kun Dragon world doing?" This. Xinghui didn't know what to say. After a while, he said, the Kun Dragon world was in a bit of a mess recently. However, the descendant of the Lord of Kun Ruins has returned and obtained the inheritance left behind by the Lord of Kun Ruins. She should have become the new Empress of the Kun Dragon Empire with the help of the Azure Dragon Sovereign. Oh, so the descendant of the Lord of Kun Ruins is still ruling the Kun Dragon world? That's good. It seems the preparations he made before he left weren't in vain. Xinghui looked at Hegemon Chero, muttering to himself for a moment before asking, "How is the Lord of Kun Ruins?" "The Lord of Kun Ruins has been dead for a few thousand years." Chero's eyes dimmed. Back then, we started a war against this star field. In that war, there were 28 level 20 civilizations participating. At the end of the war, a level 21 civilization's fleet entered the battlefield. The Lord of Kun ruins was at the forefront of the charge, but he was attacked by the level 21 civilization. Unfortunately, he died. At the critical moment, a famous almighty from our side rushed over and destroyed the main fleet of the level 21 civilization. He even destroyed their flagship, but he was still one step too late. A level 21 civilization. The Lord of Kun ruins was actually the disciple of the giant dragon city's city master. In order to avenge him, the giant dragon city's city master, who was originally in charge of another battlefield, chose to guard this star field. This is also the reason why we were able to expand the territory of this star field. In just a few thousand years, not only did our star field expand, but the giant dragon city's city master also destroyed 3 level 21 civilizations and destroyed more than 30 billion top-notch battleships. 30 billion. Xing Hui was secretly shocked. Although there were strong and weak battleships among the level 21 civilizations, the weakest battleship could usually kill a divine true body or even a maverick realm expert. It seems like the Azure Dragon Sovereign has fulfilled his duties well. Since the Kun Dragon Empire is still under the control of the Lord of Kun Ruin's descendants, then forget it. Xing Hui looked at Chero. According to him, if the Emperor of the Kun Dragon Great World was no longer the descendant of the Lord of Kun Ruin's descendants, would he still intervene? Did he intend to be responsible for the Lord of Kun Ruins until the end, or was there something amazing in the Kun Dragon Great World? Shaking his head, Xing Hui did not intend to intervene in the chaos of the Kun Dragon Great World. After the meeting, Xing Hui and the others left the hall. After leaving the hall, the Golden Rock carried out his duty and transferred 100,000 merit points to Qing Su as soon as possible. Xing Hui did not stand on ceremony. After accepting the merit points, he asked, "I want to buy a small world that can contain living creatures. It would be best if this small world could be opened in the territory of any great life form. Then it would be a level 20 small world. This kind of small world with a complete internal cycle is not cheap. 100,000 merit points can only buy a small world with a diameter of less than 1,000 kilometers. 1,000 kilometers is enough." Xing Hui asked, "Can I buy it?" "Of course." A hint of pride flashed across the Golden Rock's eyes. "We are fighting for the great Lord of Chaos. Some of the top treasures that can be exchanged with merit points are said to be personally bestowed by the great Lord of Chaos. Let alone a level 20 small world, even a level 21 divine creation artifact might not be impossible as long as you have enough merit points." Chapter 841. Under the Golden Rock's lead, Xing Hui soon arrived at the area where military merits could be exchanged for various cultivation resources and treasures of heaven and earth. The Golden Rock opened the list of resources that could be exchanged for and allowed Xing Hui to clearly see the items that could be purchased. Xing Hui's eyes suddenly narrowed. The most precious item at the top of the exchange list was the legendary creation artifact. These creation divine artifacts were divided into 2 major categories. One was a creation divine artifact that was specially tailored for cultivators. Such a creation divine artifact required one to kill a supreme ultimate god or 30 ordinary superior gods of the King of Gods divine system. In addition, one could also exchange for destroying 20 rank 21 civilizations. As for the other category, they were not custom-made creation artifacts but happened to be in stock. Usually, one would need to kill a supreme ultimate god or 10 superior gods and destroy 10 rank 21 civilizations. The King of Pantheon's cultivation system structure was composed of lower gods, middle gods, and superior gods, corresponding to the first to third levels of the Chaos Realm. However, their cultivation system had a special structure called the Master God System. The Master God system was equivalent to the leader and king of the gods. Not only did they have amazing strength and power, but they could also borrow the power of other gods in the god system for their own use. The more gods the Master God system had, the more powerful their combat power would be. According to the size of the god system and their own strength, they would often be called divine kings or supreme gods. Among them, the divine kings were the more ordinary master gods of the god system, while the supreme god's combat power was several times stronger than ordinary great divine masters. Usually, it would take several or even 10 great divine masters to besiege and kill them. As for those special existences who were slightly above the ordinary third level of the Chaos Realm, they would often be crowned with the title of legends and supreme experts. Once supreme ultimate gods and legends appeared on the battlefield, they were almost invincible existences. I didn't expect the great divine masters in the third level of the Chaos Realm to be divided into different levels. Xing Hui could not help but sigh as he looked at the information on the list. As far as I know, the gap between the third level of the Chaos Realm and the fourth level of the Chaos Realm is too big. It's a double change in quality and quantity. It's because of the huge gap between the two levels that countless amazing geniuses were stopped at the door of the fourth level of the Chaos Realm. Although these geniuses could not take the last step for a long time and become a legendary existence in life essence on par with the great Master of Chaos, the Master of Gods, and the Master of Time, the accumulation of countless years were enough to make them invincible in the same realm. The Chaos Realm of the Chaos Master of the fourth level of the Chaos Realm, Master of Gods, and Master of the Master of Time? Xing Hui asked curiously. The Golden Rock listened and said with a little embarrassment, I've only heard from 2 rulers that the gap between the third and fourth level of the Chaos Realm was too big to be calculated. However, the gap between the fourth and fifth level of the Chaos Realm and the sixth level of the Chaos Realm, which represented the Great Master of Chaos, the Master of Time, and the Master of Gods, rapidly narrowed the gap between the fourth and fifth level of the Chaos Realm. That's why the evil gods who were rumored to be only at the fourth and fifth level of the Chaos Realm dared to stir up trouble in front of the 3 great existences. He then quickly added, those great existences are not something we can measure, so I can't guarantee the authenticity of this information. Xing Hui listened and nodded. The 3 great existences wanted to prevent the evil gods from spying on them, so they spent most of their time in the depths of the universe to prevent the evil gods from descending. Moreover, the 3 great existences had a temporary agreement that the battle of territories could only be maintained at the third level of the Chaos Realm or below, so as to prevent the 3 great existences from attacking each other. If all 3 of them were injured, the evil gods and demons would have an opportunity to take advantage of them. Therefore, the third level of the Chaos Realm is the most important realm. Those outstanding great divinity realm experts would often receive the personal attention of the Master of Chaos. If they make a great contribution, they might even receive personal guidance from the great Master of Chaos. The Golden Rock said with a hint of envy and fanaticism, for example, the person in charge of this war zone, the powerful giant Dragon City Master, was one of the strongest existences who was personally summoned by the Master of Chaos. Evil gods. Strongest. When Xing Hui heard this, he could not help but feel that his horizons had been broadened. Although the Golden Rock was only a cultivator of one thought realm, because he had been on the battlefield for many years, his horizons and knowledge were not even comparable to ordinary Chaos Realm Supremes. In addition, he wanted to be on good terms with Xing Hui, a cultivator with a bright future, so he did his best to introduce him. In fact, the title of Great Divinity has been used in this world for many years. It is a realm in the cultivation civilization of this world, the immortal Tao civilization. Because the cultivators of this realm are so strong, they were recognized by the great existences at the third level of the Chaos Realm. Although they were defeated by us in the end, it was because there were too few of them, and there were too many great existences who directly intervened. To show their respect, those great existences spontaneously called the third level of the Chaos Realm, Great Divinity, to commemorate the unyielding fighting spirit of this civilization's top cultivators. That battle, Xing Hui's heart skipped a beat. I remember that the battle started more than 100,000 years ago, right? I should still be able to look up the detailed information of that battle. Of course, but this kind of information requires authorization. Only those with level 7 authorization can investigate it. In other words, you have spent a total of 10 million merit points here. The Golden Rock paused for a moment. But if you are interested in this information, you might as well make a trip to the vast world. The vast world has collected almost all the information of our cultivation civilization. If you make a contribution there, you should be able to look up the relevant information. The vast world, huh? Xing Hui made a note of this. If he had the chance, he would go there and find out the truth of that battle. The two chatted as they browsed through the small worlds that needed to be purchased. After a while, the Golden Rock seemed to have discovered something. His eyes lit up slightly. Dong Yang, look here. In the next moment, he had already retrieved this piece of information. A small world created by a great divinity. A diameter of 100 kilometers. The price is exactly 100,000 merit points. Xing Hui's gaze also fell on this introduction. It seems that this is a small world given to him by a great divinity's disciple or descendant to sell or alleviate an urgent need. A small world created by a ruler has an internal cycle that can grow and multiply endlessly. However, a small world created by a great divinity already has Tao, and can operate autonomously anywhere. In addition, although the Tao is simple, it is extremely beneficial to those who have yet to fully comprehend their own Tao. It is almost equivalent to a great divinity intercepting a great divinity's Tao for you to comprehend. Its value is almost comparable to an enlightenment stone. Of course, the enlightenment stone can enhance one's comprehension of the 18 great divinities, but this small world can only enhance the corresponding comprehension of the great divinity's great divinity. 100 kilometers. If it is only used to accommodate some important people, it should be enough. As Xing Hui spoke, he made a prompt decision to buy this miniature world. After all, a primal chaos realm divine beast or saint beast's body could reach up to 100 kilometers. However, the advantage is obvious too. It contains great Tao laws, which is the biggest advantage. Besides, these great Tao laws can be comprehended by cultivators who have yet to step into the primal chaos realm. Under the circumstances of corresponding laws, it increases the chances of them reaching the primal chaos realm. To us, this is definitely worth 100,000 contribution points. It's a pity that only a minority of cultivators who can reach the world realm with a thought can take out 100,000 contribution points. The Golden Rock said enviously. Xing Hui smiled and did not say anything. Not long after, a delivery man delivered the small world. The entire small world was sealed in a palm-sized crystal ball. Inside it, one could clearly see the movement of the sun and moon, as well as the movement of laws. Xing Hui carefully sensed for a moment. Although this miniature world was only 100 kilometers in size, in fact, there was a sky, atmosphere, and a series of elements outside it. In addition to a virtual sun, the actual area of this miniature world was actually 300 kilometers in size. From this point of view, it was already worth it. Xing Hui was very satisfied with this miniature world. It was rare to have such a good opportunity. He asked again, by the way, I wonder if I can trade Tao carrying items in the war zone. Of course. Tao aura is the most rigid currency in all worlds. The Golden Rock said and lowered his voice slightly. If you really plan to use Tao aura to buy the items on the military merit list, I suggest you go to the 800th district, which is the war zone where the commander-in-chief, the giant dragon city master, is personally overseeing. There are more experts there, and many of them are rich. There are also many who are willing to buy Tao aura at a high price. In different places, the exchange rate between military merit and Tao aura varies by a few times, or even a dozen times. What's the ratio? If you're lucky, you can encounter a ratio of 1 to 100,000, or even more than 100,000. If you're unlucky, you can encounter a ratio of 1 to 10,000, or even several thousand. The key is where you go. If it's the commander-in-chief of a war zone, the ratio of 1 to 10,000 is guaranteed. If you're willing to patiently wait for an opportunity, 1 to 20,000 is not difficult. If the ratio is higher, it depends on whether those people are in a hurry to obtain Dao-carrying items. 1 to 10,000, 20,000, Xing Hui had already spent a lot of Dao-carrying items on him. At present, there were less than 2,000 left. Less than 2,000, for those sovereigns above the 44th level of the primal chaos realm, their annual expenses would reach more than 700 gold coins. This number wasn't considered much compared to sovereigns. Only sovereigns in the primal chaos realm would be considered wealthy. Anyway, I'm going to return to the divine wilderness great world soon. When the time comes, even if I can only get half of the Dao-carrying items in the divine wilderness great world, I can still make a profit of several thousand Dao-carrying items in a year. It's comparable to the income of those powerful experts, Xing Hui thought and made a decision without hesitation. Bye. Chapter 842. The 823rd district was not far from the 800th district. In less than a year, Qing Su had already arrived in the 800th zone. Upon reaching the 800th district, Xing Hui went straight to the market. This time, even though Golden Rock was not leading the team, Silver Feather, the vice-captain, followed him. Silver Feather was not as experienced as Golden Rock, but he was much more experienced than those who came from the inner world. After the two of them arrived at the market, they quickly browsed around. Most of the items he bought were for special life forms, tempering himself, and top-notch true treasures that were useful to divine beasts. The special life forms were naturally referring to the Scarlet Abyss Sword Spirit. The Scarlet Abyss Sword Spirit was nurtured by his sword intent and was absolutely reliable. As he began to have his own Dao, he could already let the Scarlet Abyss Sword Spirit comprehend his own Dao and evolve toward the chaotic realm. It was like a chaotic realm cultivator being blessed by the Great Dao. As his Great Dao law was so weak that it was not worth mentioning, even if the Scarlet Abyss Sword Spirit comprehended his Dao and evolved to the chaotic realm, its combat power would only increase by 1 or 2 times. At best, it would reach the level of the Godly Might King or the Heavenly Sword King. However, this was Xing Hui's own Dao. When the Scarlet Abyss Sword Spirit broke through to the chaotic realm, Xing Hui could use the Scarlet Abyss Sword Spirit in battle in the form of a divine weapon, and the power of his Great Dao Law would be doubled. By then, his combat power might not be comparable to that of a chaotic realm divine beast, but it would not be a problem for him to surpass ordinary chaotic realm giants. Not to mention that he was still constantly tempering his body, evolving towards the true singularity. In a month's time, almost 2,000 Dao-bearing items on Qing Su had been used up. Correspondingly, he was extremely satisfied with the benefits he had received. The extremely valuable 2 strands of black and yellow aura, 144 strands of black and yellow aura, as well as 6 portions of true God origin liquid and a series of treasures that were beneficial to him. In addition to these things, Xing Hui also bought a level 12 golden crow mythical beast and used less than 3 days to tame it. Then, in the next few days, he cultivated it to level 13. Divine beasts were different from cultivators. All divine beasts had to be nurtured before they reached adulthood. Once they reached adulthood, the divine beasts would obtain the complete inheritance of memories and would no longer submit to anyone. The best outcome would be to sign a contract. Just like the Lord of Kun Ruins of the Kun Dragon Great World, the Azure Dragon Sovereign, who guarded the Kun Dragon Great World for him, had also been trained by the Lord of Kun Ruins since he was young. Otherwise, he would not have been so cautious and conscientious in protecting the safety of his descendants even after his master had died. After purchasing all the items he wanted, Xing Hui bid farewell to Inu. Without wasting any more time, he used the super spacetime cannon to head towards the bloodshed world. On the way, a full 10 years. In these 10 years, Tsing Hui had been using the great Tao laws he derived from himself to temper the Scarlet Abyss sword spirit. At the same time, he used the true God origin liquid and other items to strengthen the Scarlet Abyss sword spirit spirituality. With the two-pronged approach, the Scarlet Abyss sword spirit, which originally had the great Tao and a deep foundation, had already resonated with the great Tao within Tsing Hui's body in the 6th year of his journey, becoming a level 1 primal chaos realm life form reinforced by the great Tao laws. Of course, due to the fact that Tsing Hui's great Tao was weak, the Scarlet Abyss sword spirit was definitely the weakest primal chaos realm life form in history. Other than the Scarlet Abyss sword spirit's breakthrough, Tsing Hui had also refined the 2 strands of mysterious yellow aura. Relying on the great Tao laws to constantly restrain his body's energy was constantly increasing. However, his body was gradually shrinking. After refining the 2 strands of mysterious yellow aura, his true body's height had already decreased from 10 meters to 6 meters. At this moment, if he were to release his own energy force field in the territory of the Time King, all the information and photons in the surroundings would definitely be devoured by him. In the eyes of others, he would be like a black hole, causing all information to be unable to escape. However, at this moment, the strength of his black hole was still somewhat lacking compared to a black hole that could support the operation of an entire galaxy. Devouring a few stars and a few galaxies was not a problem, but to support or devour an entire galaxy, it was still somewhat lacking. Other than the Scarlet Abyss sword spirit and himself, that little golden crow had also grown healthily under the nurturing of his large amount of mysterious yellow aura and the dragonization fruit. When Tsing Hui truly set foot on the bloodshed world, this little golden crow had already grown to the peak of the 16th rank and was not far from the 17th. Divine beasts are indeed blessed by the heavens. If it were a human, even if they had sufficient resources, wanting to advance from the celestial phenomenon Earth level to the divine true body level in a short 10 years would still be an extravagant hope. Tsing Hui sighed and soon arrived at the teleportation array area. As he had spent 100,000 contribution points during this period of time, his authority level had already reached the 5th rank, and he was qualified to use the teleportation array to return to the Kun Dragon Great World. Along with the familiar ripples of teleportation, not long after, he arrived at the imperial city of the Kun Dragon Great World. It's been close to 100 years. As the surroundings gradually became clearer, Tsing Hui immediately released his consciousness and sensed the changes in the imperial city. Compared to before, what Tsing Hui felt the most was the aura of the experts within the imperial city. 20 of them. A total of 20 experts at the world creation realm were overseeing the imperial city. Among the auras of these 20 experts, Tsing Hui even sensed a few familiar auras, such as the Radiant King, the Godly Might King, and the Rosy Cloud King. And other than these experts, in the direction of the imperial city close to the imperial palace, there was a vast and imposing aura that carried a terrifying might that covered the entire imperial city. With the imperial city as the center, it even spread over a radius of 10 million kilometers. Is that the Azure Dragon Sovereign? Tsing Hui raised his head and looked in the direction of the imperial palace. Beside the Azure Dragon Sovereign's aura, there was an aura that surpassed ordinary experts at the world creation realm, but had yet to reach the chaotic realm. There was no need to guess, this must be the new emperor who had obtained the inheritance of the imperial family's treasury, Princess Longyu. No, she should be called Empress Longyu now. Almost at the same time Tsing Hui looked in the direction of the imperial palace. Within the imperial palace, a terrifying giant dragon that was over 100 kilometers long lying on a mountain peak suddenly opened its eyes. Its gaze was like lightning, piercing through the void as it rapidly looked in the direction of the teleportation array near the imperial city. Great Azure Dragon Sovereign, what instructions do you have for me? A young girl who had been serving the Azure Dragon Sovereign all this time asked respectfully when she sensed the abnormality of the Azure Dragon Sovereign. The Azure Dragon Sovereign did not reply, but carefully sized up the imperial city. After a long while, he withdrew his gaze with some doubt. Just a moment ago, he had clearly felt a wave of fear and trepidation, as if some terrifying existence had suddenly appeared. That feeling, it was a little similar to the strongest war weapon of the 20th rank civilizations, the Black Hole Fortress, that seemed capable of devouring everything. However, this aura had only appeared for an instant before disappearing without a trace. It was so brief that the Azure Dragon Sovereign thought it was an illusion. But, as a being at the first level of the chaotic realm, it was impossible for him to have an illusion. He could sense that the aura that had arrived did not have any malicious intent. Considering the other party's oppressive aura that seemed to be even stronger than his own and the other party's attitude of not wanting to attract his attention, he did not act blindly without thinking and continued probing. Perhaps, the other party was just passing by. In reality, the Azure Dragon Sovereign's guess was not wrong. Xing Hui was just passing by. I'll go look for Rosy Dawn King and ask her to give me the coordinates of the True Sun Great World. Then, I can directly use the World Rainbow Bridge to teleport back to the True Sun Great World. Xing Hui sensed the residence of Rosy Dawn King. Not long after, he had already arrived before a manor with a diameter of over 10 kilometers. The people living in this manor were precisely Rosy Dawn King, as well as a series of close friends and subordinates that depended on her existence. There were no less than 100,000 people, and the majority of them were cultivators at the Saint Realm and above. Xing Hui relied on that characteristic of his that existed and didn't exist to quietly walk in the manner of Rosy Dawn King. Along the way, all the information emitted from his body was completely devoured by his own characteristic. As long as he did not show himself, no one could even think of sensing his existence. He even suspected that it was a problem for the art of divination to deduce his current whereabouts. Relying on this kind of miraculous ability, he quickly arrived at the courtyard where Rosy Dawn King lived. At this moment, Rosy Dawn King was in the courtyard, instructing a young girl who looked 80% similar to her but was full of youthful and beautiful aura. On the side, there were several cultivators of the Traversing Realm and the Divine True Body Realm accompanying her. The key to the cultivation of the law of space is to use the momentum to guide the benefits, especially before the profound Void Realm has fully mastered the law of space. Compared to the vast and boundless great Tao of space, we cultivators are extremely insignificant. Being able to mobilize 1 in a billion by relying on the momentum of space operation is already the limit. Don't think about controlling it, Rosy Dawn King gave instructions, carrying out a clear dissection of the law of space. And the young girl in front of her, who looked quite similar to her and had reached the profound Void Realm, was also attentively comprehending. From time to time, ripples would be emitted from her body. The scene looked quite harmonious. Seeing this, Rosy Dawn King was quite satisfied. Zhaoying, according to your current cultivation progress, you should be able to shatter the vacuum in a few years. When you can casually strike with the power to shatter the vacuum, it will be the time for you to try to condense the divine true body. If you can reach this step within 30 years, I can give you a 16th order flying sword as a reward. A 16th order flying sword? When the girl named Zhaoying heard this, her eyes suddenly lit up. Thank you, Master. The Rosy Clouds King smiled. She was about to say something, but at this moment, she glanced around from the corner of her eye and immediately caught sight of Qing Su, who seemed to have been here for some time already. Her face immediately changed in fright. Your Excellency Rosy Dawn King. Xing Hui nodded to Rosy Dawn King. At this time, the other people in the yard seemed to notice his existence. One of the people with some status was dissatisfied with the sudden appearance of this stranger. Who are you? How did you come here? There are no rules at all. Shut up. Rosy Dawn King shouted, and then, her face changed for a while. She stepped forward and asked unnaturally, Mister, why are you here? Over the years, they had combined all the information they had mastered to verify each other. Obviously, they had figured out that Yu Qing and Dong Yang were the same person. Chapter 843. There's something I need to ask Caixia King. Can I talk to Caixia King alone? Xing Hui said. Of course. Caixia King said and waved to the people in the courtyard, you can leave. Caixia King obviously had a very high prestige in her family. With a wave of her hand, many people in the courtyard quickly retreated despite their curiosity. Only the girl named Zhaoying asked, Master, do you need me to wait on you? No need, you can leave. I need to entertain Mr. Dong Yang. You can go back. If there's anything you don't understand about cultivation, you can ask Yunxia. Yes, Master. Zhaoying responded obediently and quickly retreated. After Zhaoying left, Caixia King turned to Xing Hui, I don't know what Mr. Dong Yang wants to ask. To use the World Rainbow Bridge to go to the True Sun Great World, you need to know the coordinates of the True Sun Great World. I don't have the coordinates of the True Sun Great World. Since Caixia King has been to the True Sun Great World once, then, I don't want to trouble Caixia King. The coordinates of the True Sun Great World. This is not difficult. I can do it with a little calculation. Please wait a moment, Mr. Dong Yang. Xing Hui nodded. It was like the position of the stars was not fixed. Worlds also revolved around each other, but the frequency and orbit of the world's revolution were not as large as that of the stars. Moreover, there was a significant law, which made the calculation much easier. Of course, this ease was also relative to professionals. For Xing Hui, who didn't understand this kind of application information, learning to calculate the coordinates of the True Sun Great World from scratch would take at least 8 to 10 years. Of course, if he had the previous information of Caixia King as a reference, this time could be compressed to within a year. But anyway, with Caixia King here, he didn't have to waste time calculating by himself. Just as Caixia King was helping Xing Hui calculate the current coordinates of the True Sun Great World, her disciple Zhaoying was the first to find Captain Yunxia. Captain Yunxia, Master told me that if I have anything I don't understand about cultivation, I can ask you. But I remember that Master once told me that my cultivation is now at a critical stage, and I shouldn't be disturbed by too many external forces. She asked me to come to you for some other reason. On the way here, I have already speculated that this matter should be related to the guest named Dong Yang that Master is entertaining. Yunxia, who had been found by Zhaoying, felt a little strange, but when Zhaoying said the name Dong Yang, she suddenly focused. What did you say? The person who was visiting Caixia King was called Dong Yang. Is he a beardless, fair-skinned man who looks about 25 or 26 years old? Exactly. Dong Yang. Yuqing. It's actually him. He actually secretly came to visit His Highness. Yunxia's face changed slightly. His Highness asked you to come to me. Could it be that Dong Yang wants to harm His Highness? Zhaoying saw Yunxia's expression and couldn't help but ask solemnly, Captain, who is this Dong Yang? Dong Yang, Yunxia thought of the battle when Xing Hui captured Caixia King alive. In that battle, the combat power he showed was probably enough to defeat the Light King and a series of more than a dozen Boundary Realm experts. This is a supreme existence not inferior to the Heavenly Sword King. Speaking of this, she couldn't wait to say, with Caixia King alone, I'm afraid she can't do anything to Dong Yang. If she acts rashly and makes Dong Yang angry, it will endanger Caixia King's life. Her Highness Caixia King asked you to secretly pass this information to me. I'm afraid she wants us to ask for an audience with Her Majesty the Empress. There's no time to lose, let's go ask for an audience with Her Majesty the Empress. After that, she couldn't wait to take Zhaoying to the Imperial Palace. In fact, there was one thing she didn't mention to Zhaoying. That was, after Her Highness the Empress obtained the support of the Azure Dragon Sovereign to ascend to the throne, she had specially come to Caixia King to ask if Caixia King could locate Dong Yang through the Rainbow Bridge. This matter was very secretive. If it weren't for the fact that she was Caixia King's personal maid, she would never know. From this point of view, Her Highness the Empress should be looking for Dong Yang for something, and was quite anxious. If they told the Empress the news that Dongyang was in the manor, they would be heavily rewarded. With this mentality, coupled with the identity of Rosy Cloud's king's personal maid, it took her nearly half an hour to pass the news to the Dragon Rain Empress. After her news was learned by the Dragon Rain Empress, she was directly summoned by the Empress without waiting for half a moment. From this detail, Yuanxia fully understood the importance of Dongyang to Her Highness the Empress. She was also 80 to 90% sure of this merit. Very quickly, Yuanxia had already been brought to Longyu. At this time, Longyu had completely refined the small world that was equivalent to the power of the Chaos Realm, and had completely mastered the power of the small world. As early as 40 years ago, she had relied on the power of the small world to fight the Celestial Sword King to a draw. Now that 60 years had passed, her understanding of the use of the small world's power had become more profound, and she was now known as the #1 powerhouse besides the Azure Dragon Sovereign. Facing Her Highness, who had both strength and status, Yuanxia bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Your Highness the Empress. No need for formalities. I heard you have something to report to me. It is said to be related to Dongyang. Could it be that you have news of him? Or has he returned to our Kunlong world?" Longyu couldn't wait to ask. "Yes, Mr. Dongyang has returned to the Kunlong world and is now in Saixia King's manor. He's back, he's actually back." Longyu had been on the throne for 40 years, and for 40 years, she had ruled over the lives of hundreds of millions of people, driving one realm master after another to do things for her. Her mentality had long changed, and she was no longer as simple as before. The imperial family was the best place to temper one's character. If you'd really left, then so be it. But now you've returned to our Kunlong world. Is this because the heavens have sensed that I've been unable to break through to the Chaos Realm due to the limitations of the Chaos Realm, so they've sent you to me, someone who holds great secrets? It seems, this is destiny. Just like when I was chosen by Dongyang and followed Dragonthorn and the others back to the Kunlong world, and now I'm sitting on the throne of the Kunlong world. Everything is destiny. Longyu murmured to herself. In mere moments, her mentality had undergone a great change. Saixia King, you've done a great service by providing this information. You will be rewarded when the time comes. Thank you, Your Highness. Yuanxia hurriedly bowed in thanks. Longyu waved a hand and said to the officials waiting outside the Great Hall, "Send a message to the Godmight King. Activate the 10 absolute heavenly domain formation in the Imperial City and completely separate the space of the Imperial City to form an independent world. This will prevent anyone from using teleportation to escape. Summon Celestial Sword King, Radiant King, and Peony King to follow me to Saixia King's manor." "Yes, Your Highness." The herald who received the order immediately passed it down. Longyu personally walked down from her throne that was embedded with many top-notch gemstones. She casually took off her regal dragon robe and let it fall to the ground, revealing a golden female battle armor. Then, with a wave of her hand, a golden longsword appeared in her hand. This fully armed appearance made her look like a majestic female war god. Buzz buzz. As the layers of flowing light dissipated, the light that enveloped the entire Imperial City dissipated. The light seemed to be mixed with the power to cut through the void, directly cutting the Imperial City out of the Kunlong world. It then relied on the power of the laws of the Kunlong world to maintain its existence. It was just like the small universe cutting technique that Xing Hui had encountered in the past. However, that small universe cutting technique was released by a Tier 20 warship. Now, the Godmight King relied on the powerful formation set up in the Imperial City to achieve this. When the space where the Imperial City was located was cut out of the Kunlong world, Xing Hui had already sensed it. Then, his gaze fell on Saixia King. "Are you not done yet? Please wait a little longer." Saixia King naturally also sensed the changes in the void outside, and sweat appeared on her white forehead. Obviously, this was because she was nervous. In the previous battle, Xing Hui had captured her alive, and it had left her with too much trauma. You have the data of the transmission to the true sun world. Counting the time, it hasn't even been 100 years. Plus, you are the owner of the World Rainbow Bridge, so you should be very familiar with the calculation of the world's position. It has been more than an hour, and there is still no result. Xinghui had a cold sneer on his face. I will give you 3 more breaths of time to tell me the coordinates of the true sun world. 3 breaths of time. This. Is it not enough? Then 2 breaths. Enough, enough. The coordinates of the true sun world are. Caixia King reported a number at an extremely fast speed. Almost at the same time as she reported this number, several figures appeared in the sky above Caixia King's manor. It was Sky Sword King, Peony King, and Radiant King who had received the order. Following the arrival of these 3 people, a beautiful figure with long flowing hair and golden armor appeared in the sky above the manor. It was the current ruler of the Kunlong world, the Empress of the Kunlong Empire, Long Yu. Seeing these people arrive, Caixia King, who was originally under great pressure, suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. All right, Dong Yang, now, you can't leave. The activation of the World Rainbow Bridge will take several hours. Before you activate the World Rainbow Bridge and leave, you should first answer Her Majesty's question. Question. Xinghui withdrew his gaze from Caixia King and turned to the valiant Empress Long Yu in golden armor in the void, and said with a faint smile, Miss Long Yu, long time no see. Dong Yang. Long Yu looked again at Xinghui with a familiar smile, and her expression was slightly complicated. After a while, she slowly replied, Young Master Dong Yang, long time no see. Chapter 844. Miss Long Yu, why have you mobilized such a large force? I wonder what advice do you have? Qing Su looked at Long Yu, who seemed valiant and valiant. Compared to before, both her bearing and confidence had undergone an overwhelming change. He was rather indifferent. Long Yu was silent for a while before she spoke. Young Master Dong Yang, there's one thing that I'd like to hear from you personally, even though I have some guesses. Did you already know that I'm related to the Kun Dragon world? Miss Long Yu, you're overthinking things. I'm not some omnipotent and omniscient being. How could I have known that you had another identity in the Kun Dragon world when I was in the True Sun world? In that case, please tell me, young Master Dong Yang. Did you follow me to the Kun Dragon world because you were worried about my safety, or did you have other motives? Xinghui looked at the woman in front of him, who still had a gentle and pleasant aura. He naturally knew what she wanted to ask. You're just looking for a reason to convince yourself to attack me. Then, I'll give it to you. I did indeed have other motives when I followed you to the Kun Dragon world after learning of your identity. As for what they are, I'm sure you know. Although Long Yu had already guessed this, her expression still changed when she heard Xinghui admit it with her own ears. After a long while, she sighed. I understand. The next moment, the complicated expression on her face disappeared completely. She gradually regained the bearing of a ruler, awe-inspiring and inviolable. In that case, young Master Dong Yang, hand over the things you obtained from the imperial treasury of the Kun Dragon Empire. Those supreme divine artifacts and other things, that's the right way to go about complimenting an empress style. The supreme divine artifacts are still here. As for the other things, I've already used them. What are you going to do about it? Long Yu looked at Xinghui with a sharp gaze. On the side, the Heavenly Sword King, the Peony King, the Radiant King, and so on surrounded him slightly further, sealing off all of Qing Su's paths of retreat. Even the Godly Might King, who was in charge of the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation, manifested a clone and said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, the formation has been fully activated. With this formation, we can probably block him from sensing the Chaos Temple for 100 breaths of time. Hence, if your Majesty wants to make a decision, you'll have to make it quick. As the Godly Might King spoke, Xinghui did split a bit of his consciousness to sense the Chaos Temple. It had to be mentioned that the 10 extremities heavenly domain formation did affect the senses of the Chaos Divine Hall by quite a lot. Qing Su sensed carefully, and he did indeed feel that his connection with the Chaos Divine Hall had become blurry. However, the God Might King and the others had overestimated the formation to say that he was unable to sense it at all. Qing Su estimated that if he concentrated his senses, he would be able to sense the Chaos Divine Hall's location again in a single breath at most. At that time, whether he wanted to escape with a technique of teleportation or engage in a battle would all depend on his mood. Good move. Tsing Hui said sincerely. Even with the ancient Holy World fragment, he was unable to completely conceal his senses from the Chaos Shrine. However, the array before him was able to conceal his senses from the Chaos Shrine for a breath's time. This showed how extraordinary the array was. Long Yu looked at Tsing Hui, who still didn't show any signs of fear. She didn't know if it was because she wasn't confident or because she still had feelings for Tsing Hui. After a long silence, she finally said, "Hand over the supreme divine weapons and leave. The celestial yellow chi, celestial desolate chi, and true God origin liquid will be my reward for saving me from the self-seeking Taoist and protecting me for so many years." Leave. Tsing Hui looked at Long Yu in surprise. Seeing this, God Might King hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, a man of great ambition shouldn't be bothered by trifles. If our guess is correct, Dong Yang must be hiding a great secret. If we can grasp this secret, it will be immeasurably beneficial for your Majesty to rule the Kun Dragon world and break through to the chaotic realm in the future. You can't let him go so easily." Clearly, God Might King had searched for information over the years and vaguely understood the reason why Dong Yang was still in the chaotic realm after being hit by the freezing spell for nearly 100 years. "I have my own plans. I don't need you to tell me what to do," Long Yu said coldly. Afterwards, he looked at Qing Su again and said, "Those Supreme God artifacts were specially forged by the ancestors of my clan according to the characteristics of our bloodline. Only in my hands can they unleash their greatest power, while in your hands, there are only a few regular Supreme God artifacts. Due to the restrictions of your bloodline, the power they can unleash in your hands might not be comparable to a true Supreme God artifact. You should be satisfied with the Xianhuang Qi, True God Yuan liquid, and so on. Hand over the Supreme God artifacts and leave." Seeing that Her Majesty Long Yu was about to let Tsing Hui go, Caixia King hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, my World Rainbow Bridge is still in his hands. Then leave the World Rainbow Bridge as well. When the time comes, Caixia King will open the World Rainbow Bridge and send you back to the true Sun Great World," Long Yu said indifferently. Even though she had changed a lot in the past few years, she still had her last shred of conscience. However, what she didn't know was that it was this last shred of conscience that saved her life in the end. Tsing Hui looked deeply at Princess Long Yu and finally said, "If you hadn't mustered so many people to attack me today, I would naturally repay you for those supreme divine weapons that are no longer of much use to me. But now, these supreme divine weapons are the price you have to pay for plotting against me. Alright, I have to return as soon as possible. Long Yu, be a good empress of the Kun Dragon world. From now on, we will have nothing to do with each other." After he finished speaking, he didn't give Long Yu any time to react. He took a step forward and his figure directly traversed through layers of void. He actually traversed through the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation and reappeared in the Kun Dragon world. Although the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formations method of cutting worlds was not bad, it was inferior to the Divine Yen civilization, a level 20 civilization. Even the small universe created by the Divine Yen civilization couldn't trap him, let alone this formation that relied completely on the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation and was controlled by a cultivator who could create worlds with a thought. After traversing through the void, his figure disappeared from this void. What's going on? Where is he? Where did our target go? The Radiant King and the Peony King's expressions changed. The Godly Might King seemed to have guessed something and said in astonishment, could it be that Dong Yang's level of chaos is higher than we thought? That's why he only used a few breaths to sense the Chaos Temple again when the formation that was supposed to block him from sensing it for 100 breaths. So he escaped after activating the characteristics of the Son of Chaos? Long Yu seemed to have thought of something. Her figure flashed, and in the next moment, she appeared in the Kun Dragon world in a majestic golden battle armor. Almost at the same time she appeared in the Kun Dragon Great World, a terrifying aura so powerful that it caused others to tremble descended from the sky, covering the entire Imperial City region. At the center of that majestic and terrifying aura was the pillar that stabilized the entire Kun Dragon Great World, and also the only primal Chaos Realm giant in the Kun Dragon Great World, the Azure Dragon Sovereign. At the same time when the Azure Dragon Sovereign appeared in this space, an aura that, although not majestic and vast, was filled with profoundness, mysteriousness, and unfathomable depths, started to radiate from him. This aura wasn't as domineering as the Azure Dragon Sovereign's, but it made Long Yu feel even more fearful and mysterious than the Azure Dragon Sovereign. As she shifted her gaze, she discovered in disbelief that the cultivator who emitted this aura was Dong Yang, who had been trapped in the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation just a second ago. This, Azure Dragon Sovereign. Xing Hui looked at the descending Azure Dragon Sovereign and nodded slightly in greeting. There wasn't the slightest bit of reverence in his expression, as if he was treating the Azure Dragon Sovereign as an equal. The Azure Dragon Sovereign's attitude towards Xing Hui didn't show the slightest bit of displeasure. In fact, he even lowered his stance slightly. Respected powerhouse, may I know what business you have in our Kun Dragon world? Our Kun Dragon world was left behind by the great Lord of Kun Ruins. The Lord of Kun Ruins was the direct disciple of the colossal Dragon City Lord, who had made illustrious contributions in the 3-domain battlefield. Currently, the Lord of Kun Ruins is fighting against the outside world, and the Kun Dragon world is sealed off from the outside world. If you have any business, please inform me directly, and I will do my best to fulfill your request. I'm just passing by the Kun Dragon world. I came here just to find a cultivator in your Kun Dragon world who can create a world with a thought to ask for the coordinates of the world I'm heading to. Now that I have the coordinates, I plan to leave. There's no need to trouble the Azure Dragon Sovereign. Xing Hui smiled, but didn't expose the Azure Dragon Sovereign for hiding the fact that the Lord of Kun Ruins had fallen. I'll be looking for a place 100,000 kilometers away to open the passage between the two worlds. I hope the Azure Dragon Sovereign won't be surprised. When the Azure Dragon Sovereign heard that Xing Hui was really just passing by and was about to leave, he heaved a sigh of relief. He was facing a mysterious sovereign who was clearly stronger than him, and he was the only one in the chaotic realm in the entire Kun Dragon world. Naturally, he was under a lot of pressure. Since that's the case, when our Kun Dragon world opens up again, you'll be welcome as a guest. The Azure Dragon Sovereign said politely. Xing Hui nodded slightly. Then, I won't cause any trouble for the Azure Dragon Sovereign. I'll take my leave first. After saying that, his figure flashed, and he silently disappeared from the Azure Dragon Sovereign's sight. The carefree manner in which he left without a trace made the Azure Dragon Sovereign, who had seen a lot, narrow his eyes. After a long while, he let out a heartfelt sigh. Looking at the aura of time on his body, he probably hasn't even cultivated for 1,000 years. Amazing, amazing. The younger generation will surpass us in time. I'll be able to return to the Divine Wilderness world tomorrow. What changes will happen to the Divine Wilderness world in 100 years? Please look forward to it. Chapter 845. Sovereign, Long Yu watched as the Azure Dragon Sovereign spoke to Xing Hui with a face filled with dread. For a moment, she felt as though her brain was unable to process what was happening. The Azure Dragon Sovereign glared at Long Yu. What happened just now? Why did you activate the 10 Ultimates Heavenly Domain Grand Array for no reason? Fortunately, that Sovereign is easy to talk to. If you had activated the 10 Ultimates Heavenly Domain Grand Array and caused him to misunderstand, even if he were to kill you in a fit of rage, I wouldn't be able to say anything. Activating the Grand Array for no reason, no matter who it is equivalent to provoking him first. In the end, your death will be in vain. At that time, I can only think of ways to find another descendant of my master and spend a great deal of effort to nurture him. Hearing the Azure Dragon Sovereign's words, Long Yu's face instantly turned somewhat pale. At this moment, no matter what, she did not dare to say that she had activated the Grand Array to trap Xing Hui. After all, the Azure Dragon Sovereign was her greatest backer. Even the Azure Dragon Sovereign had said that he was unable to protect her. If Xing Hui had really wanted to kill her, she would have definitely died in vain. After a long while, Long Yu finally recovered from the shocking scene she had just witnessed. With a trace of fear and trepidation in her voice, she said, "Sovereign, that person, could it be, that he's also a sovereign? At the very least, he's a sovereign, or an existence even stronger than that. Of course, there's also the possibility that he's a descendant of a peak existence, and possesses a supreme treasure bestowed upon him by that peak existence. In any case, you absolutely cannot provoke him. Not to mention you, even I don't have the courage to provoke such a frightening existence." As the Azure Dragon Sovereign spoke, he swept a glance at Long Yu. "I can feel that he seems to be rather young. To have such achievements at such a young age, his future potential is limitless. If you're able to marry such an existence, regardless of whether it's to rule the Kun Dragon world or to ensure that the Kun Dragon world doesn't decline in the future, it'll be immeasurable benefits. Unfortunately, he's only passing by our Kun Dragon world, and has no intention of stopping. You don't have such good fortune." After speaking, the Azure Dragon Sovereign shook his head for a while, before quickly turning around and leaving. The extremely powerful pressure also gradually dissipated. Looking at the Azure Dragon Sovereign leaving, Long Yu thought of the actions she had done over the years. Long Yu opened her mouth, but all of a sudden, a bitter feeling in her heart. It was as if she had lost something extremely important. At this moment, the Divine Might King, the Heavenly Sword King, the Peony King, the Radiant King and the rest came out from the 10 Absolute Heavenly Domain Grand Array. Looking at the Azure Dragon Sovereign who had turned around and left, their faces were filled with reverence. That's the Azure Dragon Sovereign. The mighty Azure Dragon Sovereign just came here. Is the Azure Dragon Sovereign involved in this matter? Peony King asked curiously. On the other hand, Rosy Cloud King seemed to have sensed something. She suddenly turned her gaze in the direction Xing Hui had just left and exclaimed in surprise, "It's the World Rainbow Bridge. It's the aura of the World Rainbow Bridge. Dong Yang activated the World Rainbow Bridge over there, and he's not more than 100,000 kilometers away. If we hurry over, we might be able to stop him. If we can ask the great Azure Dragon Sovereign to personally take action, then no matter how high his primal chaos level is and how powerful his teleportation technique is, he won't be able to escape." Now, done. Before Rosy Cloud King could finish her words, she was interrupted by Long Yu's shout. Her eyes gradually regained their coldness, and the pressure of an empress once again condensed on her body. "The matter of young Master Dong Yang ends here. From today onwards, we are not allowed to disrespect young Master Dong Yang in the slightest. If young Master Dong Yang enters our Kunlong Great World again, he must be treated as a distinguished guest." Rosy Cloud King couldn't help but widen her eyes. "Your Majesty, this is an order." Long Yu waved her hand, not giving Rosy Cloud King a chance to resist. After giving the order, her figure flashed and disappeared from the sight of the few peak experts. Seeing Long Yu leave, Rosy Cloud King was a little unwilling. "What is this? We mustered so many people, but the result is this anticlimactic. Alright, Rosy Cloud King, can't you see it?" At this moment, the Heavenly Sword King, who had never been good with words, spoke up. He first glanced in the direction where the Azure Dragon Sovereign had left, and then looked in the direction where the world bridge had opened. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, the Azure Dragon Sovereign should have met young Master Dong Yang just now. This young Master Dong Yang should be more difficult to deal with than we thought." "Dong Yang is more difficult to deal with than we thought." The Radiant King seemed to have thought of something, and his face changed. "You mean, even the Azure Dragon Sovereign doesn't have 100% confidence in dealing with him? Doesn't that mean his cultivation is?" The Heavenly Sword King nodded solemnly. "How is this possible?" The Godly Might King, who had fought with Tsing Hui before, was in disbelief. "Nothing is impossible. Don't forget, he's someone who has entered the royal treasury. Compared to Longyu, he might be the biggest winner." The royal treasury, the Radiant King and the Godly Might King's expressions turned ugly at the same time. "In short, if you don't want to die, then obediently obey Her Majesty's words. From now on, don't provoke this young Master Dong Yang. At least, I don't plan to provoke him." After saying that, the Heavenly Sword King's figure flashed and disappeared before everyone's eyes. Seeing the Heavenly Sword King leave, the Radiant King, the Godly Might King, and the Rosy Dawn King were somewhat unwilling. However, considering the strength that Tsing Hui had displayed 100 years ago, they might not be able to defeat Tsing Hui. Even if they could defeat the Tsing Hui from 100 years ago, they might not be able to capture him. A teleportation technique that could only be mastered by a level 30 primal chaos was definitely an effective tool for escaping. For a time, they could only helplessly disperse. In another direction, without the interference of Longyu, the Heavenly Sword King, the Godly Might King, and the others, Tsing Hui smoothly activated the World Rainbow Bridge. Relying on the World Rainbow Bridge to open a passage to the True Sun Great World, he stepped into the passage and experienced the familiar spatial travel. In an instant, he had crossed an unknown number of light years. Compared to the previous time when he was forced to travel between worlds, this time, Tsing Hui, who had his own great Tao, could see more clearly what was behind the spatial travel. As he carefully observed, not only could he see the intense circulation of the laws of space, but he could also see countless great worlds that resembled galaxies rapidly leaving behind him. In an instant, he had crossed the distance of dozens or even hundreds of great worlds. From the looks of it, I'll have to study the laws of space again if I have the chance in the future. The laws of space are one of the strongest laws of space among the 18 great laws under the Master of Chaos. No, in fact, there are only 12 true laws under the Master of Chaos. The remaining 6 were all plundered from the Master of Gods and the Master of Time. In fact, among the 12 laws, there are a few that are in danger of being plundered. For example, the nether glow that I've never seen before. The law of darkness that it represents has been completely plundered by the Master of Gods. As a result, the cultivation system of the nether glow bloodline has almost been lost, becoming an existence that exists only in name. Tsing Hui stared at the World Rainbow Bridge that crossed 2 worlds and fell into deep thought. After an unknown period of time, a world that resembled a galaxy rapidly enlarged in front of Tsing Hui's eyes. Soon after, he was enveloped by the fluctuations of the laws of space and rapidly approached this world. However, just as he was about to enter this great world, he was surprised to find that a large-scale battle had broken out outside the True Sun Great World. Clearly, there were Chaos Realm giants personally involved in the battle. The mighty power radiated over millions or even tens of millions of kilometers into the void. Under the influence of these vibrating powers, the passage between the 2 worlds had collapsed before he could land completely at his teleportation point. Someone destroyed the World Rainbow Bridge. The other end of the World Rainbow Bridge is located at the Kuan Dragon Great World. Although the Master of Kuan ruins of the Kuan Dragon Great World has fallen, this news has not been spread yet. Not many people should know about it. Under such circumstances, how could the True Sun Great World have the guts to offend a great world with a master ruler? Tsing Hui's expression immediately changed. The destruction of the World Rainbow Bridge was no small matter. If one was not careful, a cultivator who was in the midst of traveling between worlds would be directly thrown into the endless void. In the endless void, if one wanted to travel from one world to another, even a world realm expert with a single thought would have to spend a few hundred years. As for the traversal realm and the divine true body realm, depending on the distance from the world, they would need to spend thousands or even thousands of years. This kind of thing could easily create a deadly feud between both sides. Fortunately, Tsing-Hui was already very close to the true Sun Great World. On the other hand, he was a peak figure whose realm was close to that of a great god. The moment the World Rainbow Bridge's passage between the two worlds collapsed, he quickly cut into the state of existence and non-existence. He pulled himself out of the World Rainbow Bridge and directly appeared in the endless void outside the true Sun Great World. My return destination is the true Martial Empire. The person who destroyed my passage between the two worlds is most likely an expert from the true Martial Empire. Tsing-Hui's expression was somewhat unsightly. However, when he saw the two forces fighting in the endless void, he vaguely dispelled this guess. At this moment, there were two battlefields in front of him, and there were 4 Chaos Realm experts participating in the battle. However, what surprised Tsing-Hui was that among the 4 Chaos Realm giants, he was actually familiar with the aura of one of them. That was the Supreme Emperor of the true Martial Empire, True Martial Supreme. The remaining 3 Chaos Realm experts, he dared to be certain that these 3 Chaos Realm giants were not born in the true Sun Great World. The life ripples emitted from their bodies had the aura of tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Tsing-Hui's thoughts turned, and he immediately guessed something. Is there a world attacking the true Sun Great World? He had no intention of interfering in the world war between the true Sun Great World and the outside world. Taking advantage of the fact that he was still in the state of existence and non-existence, and had not been noticed by the Chaos Realm giants, his figure flashed, and he rapidly passed through the outer layer. When he stepped into the territory of the Scarlet Sun Empire, his figure flashed, and he entered the true Sun Great World. Chapter 846. This Scarlet Sun Empire, Tsing-Hui stepped into the Scarlet Sun Empire and scanned his surroundings. He immediately felt that something was amiss. The Scarlet Sun Empire has been breached. Most of the buildings and war fortresses that appeared before him did not belong to the Scarlet Sun Empire. Other than that, the powerful auras of the Scarlet Sun Empire were constantly surging, each stronger than the last. In the core region of the Scarlet Sun Empire, Tsing-Hui once again sensed 6 auras of chaotic realm experts. Which world is the true Sun Great World at war with? No. It's not with any world. The correct way to put it is, with several worlds. He could determine that there were 4 different architectural styles. In other words, other than the true Sun Great World, there were 3 other external forces that were at war with the true Sun Great World. Why are there suddenly so many great worlds eyeing the true Sun Great World? What is it about the true Sun Great World that is worth these worlds mobilizing so many forces to invade? Tsing-Hui was puzzled. After a moment, he seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed. The Divine Wilderness Great World. What did the true Sun Great World have? The true Sun Great World had a teleportation channel that led directly to the Divine Wilderness Great World. With that thought, Tsing-Hui turned around and broke free from the many laws and binding forces. He rushed toward the Divine Wilderness Great World's teleportation channel at the fastest speed possible. Before Tsing-Hui could get close to the Divine Wilderness Great World, the auras of 4 chaotic realm supremes came rushing toward him. Between the auras of these chaotic realm supremes, Tsing-Hui could clearly sense the energy waves emitted by the world teleportation channel. Moreover, there was more than one such energy wave. Within a few 100,000 kilometers of the Divine Wilderness Great World, there were at least 4 or 5 world teleportation channels emitting spatial auras. As Tsing-Hui arrived above the Divine Wilderness Great World, he was disturbed by the energy emitted by the world teleportation channel. His figure was unavoidably revealed, and at this moment, four auras of chaotic realm locked onto him. Who is it? Show yourself. Accompanied by a series of fierce roars, a huge illusory world appeared above the divine wilderness great world, encompassing almost the entire divine wilderness great world and even the territory around it. At the same time, it carried a mighty aura and suppressed Tsinghui. These people are indeed here for the divine wilderness great world. Tsinghui's face suddenly turned ugly. In particular, the hostility of the four primal chaos realm supremes infuriated Tsinghui even more. The Scarlet Abyss sword, which had already broken through to the primal chaos realm, instantly appeared in his hand. At the same time, the characteristic of existence and non-existence in his body was completely activated. He and the sword became one, and like a sword light that freely traversed through the void, it directly shot into the enormous world of one of the primal chaos realm supremes that was over 200,000 kilometers wide. With a resplendent light that could tear apart the sky, the barrier and laws of this enormous world were shattered in one fell swoop. How dare you! The primal chaos supreme who was attacked let out a roar, and a world god that had condensed a world energy of 200,000 kilometers appeared. Even though it was less than 100 meters tall, the energy it contained could easily turn a star into dust if it was released. Slash! Tsinghui became one with his sword and locked his gaze on the world god. The Scarlet Abyss sword light shot out like an arrow and collided with the world god's divine ability. Crack! Along with the crisp sound of glass, the world god who had struck out with his divine ability was like tempered glass that was hit by a bullet. He was directly penetrated by Tsinghui's sword, and a large number of cracks appeared where he was penetrated, causing his enormous body to almost collapse. What? What kind of technique is this? Under the astonished gaze of the primal chaos realm supremes, Tsinghui's sword light shot directly into the core of this world that was 200,000 kilometers wide. The sword light that carried an unstoppable sharpness instantly pierced into the center of this world's core. The sound of glass breaking reverberated again. The moment this world's core was destroyed, the entire center of the world suddenly shook violently, as though a black hole had appeared out of thin air and began to crazily devour the surrounding matter. At this rate, this special existence that resembled a black hole would not take long to completely devour this world of 200,000 kilometers, causing the entire world to collapse and be annihilated. However, the primal chaos realm supremes who dominated this world obviously would not allow it. With a low roar, the power of Great Tao seemed to appear in the void. It was a blazing and violent Great Tao of light, the Great Tao of blazing sun that belonged to the divine beast Golden Crow. With the appearance of this power of Great Tao, an endless stream of power crazily fell from the void of this world and spread toward the black hole that was devouring everything. Soon, the hole that resembled a black hole was filled, causing the turbulence and destruction of the world to gradually calm down. At the same time, the severely injured world god also shouted angrily with a trace of fear in his voice, "Who are you? Which force do you represent? Get out of here." As he spoke, the power of the entire world began to surge wildly and hit Tsinghui's body, as though it was trying to expel Tsinghui from the world. However, Tsinghui activated his own characteristics of existence and non-existence, causing the repulsive force of the world that ordinary supremes could not resist to be mostly offset by him. He was like a fish in a stormy sea. No matter how turbulent the waves were, they could only make his body move slightly. It was wishful thinking to want to smash him into pieces like a giant ship. Great path laws, huh? Primal Chaos Realm Supremes are different from World Creation Realm Supremes. World Creation Realm Supremes are very fragile. If I destroy their world core, which is the boundary artifact, the entire world system will be completely destroyed. It won't take long for the entire world to collapse. However, Primal Chaos Realm Supremes worlds are not only sturdy, they also have the power of Great Path supporting them. Even if I destroy their boundary artifact, they can rely on the power of Great Path to continuously replenish their world. They can still maintain their world without collapsing for a short period of time. Once the battle is over, they can find a new boundary artifact, cultivate and stabilize their world again. Soon, Xing Hui saw the difference between Primal Chaos Realm Supremes and Boundary Realm Experts. If the Boundary Realm Supremes were destroyed, the probability of the Boundary Realm Expert dying was more than 90%. But to destroy the Boundary Realm Supremes, at best, it could only severely injure them. Unless the speed of their world's destruction was faster than the Great Tao's restoration, a Primal Chaos Realm Supremes would not be so easy to kill. The Great Tao of Great Tao. If it was a dozen years ago and my Great Tao of Great Tao was slightly weaker, I would definitely be the one to lose if we clashed on the Great Tao of Great Tao. But now, Xing Hui's eyes flashed. Then, he suddenly soared into the air and slashed at the Great Tao of the Sun or the Great Tao of Light that permeated the air above the Primal Chaos Realm Supremes. When he slashed out, his Great Tao of all things as one was fully activated. It bloomed with brilliant light and madly expelled the Great Tao of Light's power of law. The two Great Taos collided and shook in the void, causing the Great Tao of Light's power of law in the void to become chaotic. It could no longer continuously replenish the world with a diameter of 200,000 kilometers. For a moment, the all-devouring black hole at the center of the world lost its energy to replenish it. It once again unleashed its might and madly devoured the entire world's matter. It seemed like it would not stop until it had devoured the entire world. Damn it, the power of cutting Tao, the power of cutting Tao, this is a Great Tao divine weapon. Ku Long Supreme, Chi Rui Supreme, quickly come and help me. Instantly, there was a cry of terror in the world. This Primal Chaos Realm Supremes clearly felt that their lives were in danger. Supreme Divine Weapons, Origin Divine Weapons, and Great Tao Divine Weapons corresponded to the first, second, and third tier of the Primal Chaos Realm. Their ranks were equivalent to the 19th, 20th, and 21st tier of the Primal Chaos Realm. Compared to the other Great Tao Divine Weapons, which only differed in terms of power, the greatest characteristic of Great Tao Divine Weapons was that they possessed the power of cutting Tao. When the power of a Great Tao Divine Weapon was fully activated, even the power of Great Tao Law would be temporarily severed. Against Primal Chaos Realm Supremes, this was a super-killing weapon that had never failed. Of course, this was only a great threat to Supremes. To second-tier Primal Chaos Realm Supremes who had cultivated the Origin Divine Body, the threat of a Great Tao Divine Weapon was greatly reduced. As this Supreme's voice spread, two mighty forces surged in from outside this Supreme's world. One of the Supremes should have cultivated the defensive laws of the Primal Chaos Divine Beast, while the other was filled with a blazing and violent aura. Clearly, he was also a Primal Chaos Realm Supremes of the Golden Crow lineage. With the arrival of these two Primal Chaos Realm Supremes, Xing Hui was unable to further destroy this Primal Chaos Realm Supreme's world. Hence, with a turn of his body, he moved in a direction that the two Primal Chaos Realm Supremes could not follow and appeared in the newly arrived Chi Rui Supreme's world. Using the same method, he ignored all the defenses in Chi Rui Supreme's small world, including a 19th tier array built on a boundary artifact. He directly shattered the heavily protected boundary artifact in one fell swoop. Damn it, what kind of ability is this? When the boundary artifact shattered, a black hole immediately formed. Chi Rui Supreme immediately roared angrily, unable to take care of himself. He had no choice but to continuously mobilize the power of the Great Tao to repair the damage in his world. After shattering Chi Rui Supreme's boundary artifact, Xing Hui once again traveled to Ku Long Supreme's world. However, compared to Chi Rui Supreme, Ku Long Supreme, who specialized in defense, was clearly prepared. He had completely fortified his world. The moment Xing Hui appeared, a world god so large that it could encompass the entire boundary artifact appeared. At the same time, there were several 19th tier defensive arrays around him. When these arrays were stacked together, even with Tsing Hui's unique ability to exist and not exist, he still felt a headache coming on. At this moment, Ku Long's supreme somewhat nervous voice reverberated throughout the entire world. "Sir, who are you? Could it be that you've also come for the divine wilderness great world's vessel of truth? If that's the case, Sir's strength has already been acknowledged by us. You can use the teleportation array to head to the divine wilderness great world. As for how many vessel of truth you can obtain, it will depend on Sir's methods. Why fight to the death now and let the other great worlds benefit for nothing?" Chapter 847. When Tsing Hui heard this primal chaos realm supreme's words, he paused for a moment and did not answer immediately. Instead, he said, "My name is Dong Yang, an expert from the Qiang Empire of the True Sun Great World. After hundreds and thousands of years in the three-domain battlefield, I finally broke through to the chaotic realm and became a supreme. Based on the outstanding contributions I accumulated in the three-domain battlefield and the peerless talent I displayed over the years, I was able to become the disciple of a top great medium and received the Great Path divine weapon from him. This time, I came here to return home in glory. However, when I returned to my country, I discovered that you and other foreign supremes had occupied the territory of my Qiang Empire. Therefore, I did not hesitate to launch an attack. An expert from the True Sun Great World. You became the disciple of a great medium and received the Great Path divine weapon from him." When the primal chaos realm supremes heard Tsing Hui's report, they were all shocked. This was especially so when Tsing Hui displayed some traces of age on his life aura. These primal chaos realm supremes could not help but widen their eyes. The traces of age on his life aura. He's too young, I can feel a vigorous vitality in his life aura. His true age is probably much younger than we imagined. 3,000 years old. 2,000 years old. Or, even younger. At such a young age, he became a supreme master of the chaotic realm within 1,000 years. It's no wonder that a great master took him in as a disciple and gave him a divine implement of the Great Path. Moreover, the Dharma access that he used to travel between our worlds should also be a secret technique exclusive to great masters. The primal chaos realm supremes were shocked. Regardless of strength or background, the other party made these primal chaos realm supremes uneasy. After a long while, the only one among the three who had not been destroyed by Tsing Hui, Supreme Withered Long, said cautiously, "Supreme Dong Yang, we are very sorry about what happened in the Qiang Empire. We come from the Taihua Great World, which is not far from the True Sun Great World. The main reason we attacked the True Sun Great World and even the Qiang Empire was because the True Sun Great World was the only place connected to the Divine Wilderness Great World. You should have heard of the Divine Wilderness Great World, right? When I left the True Sun Great World, I was only at the Divine True Body realm, so I haven't heard of it. How is the Divine Wilderness Great World? Tell me about it, but you'd better not lie to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for fighting to the death with you. I may not be able to kill all of you in a short time, but as long as I continue to destroy, I will eventually bring down your world. When that time comes, what awaits you is the fate of death." Supreme Withered Long was silent for a moment, but in the end, he had no choice but to say with a hint of grievance, "We admit that you are powerful enough to bring down our world. You have the ability to do so. The matter of the Divine Wilderness Great World is not a secret, and we will not lie to you about it. In fact, a long time ago, us Supremes who control the local Primal Chaos Temple noticed that every time we sold goods through the Primal Chaos Temple, we would be pleasantly surprised at the high price. From that time onwards, we deliberately paid attention to these details. It was not until more than 200 years ago, when we defeated a world called the Heaven Primal Great World, that we found out from them that the world that bought our goods at such a high price was a weak little world called the Divine Wilderness. 10,000 years ago, your True Sun Great World and the Heaven Primal Great World that we defeated launched a war against the Divine Wilderness Great World, 10,000 years ago. Our true Sun Great World did indeed suffer a great loss because of some experience. Xing Hui nodded. Yes, the production of Tao carriers in the divine wilderness Great World is far beyond our imagination. In fact, the annual production of Tao aura in our worlds is less than 300. Only by relying on the high price of the Primal Chaos Temple's subsidies can we reach more than 1,000. The initial estimate of the production of Tao carriers in the divine wilderness Great World is probably a terrifying number of 15,000. When we learned of the existence of such a peerless treasure in the Heaven Primal Great World, we did not hesitate to change our target and plan to attack the divine wilderness Great World. Then, by chance, we learned that the true Sun Great World had a transmission array that connected to the divine wilderness Great World. In order to avoid wasting too much time on the way to the divine wilderness Great World, 10 years ago, we forcefully broke the seal of the true Sun Great World and invaded it, 10 years ago. Xing Hui's heart sank when he heard this. You are all the power of the Taihua Great World. That's not the case. Our Taihua Great World has a total of 9 Primal Chaos Realm Supremes. Due to the divine wilderness Great World, we temporarily formed an alliance, leaving 3 people to oversee the Taihua Great World, 3 to guard the true Sun Great World's teleportation array, and the remaining 3 to enter the divine wilderness Great World. 3. Xing Hui's expression changed. Then those chaotic realm supremes come from the Jade Capital Great World, the northernmost Great World, and the Fantasy Great World. These great worlds are not inferior to our Taihua Great World. Among them, there are 8 chaotic realm supremes in the Jade Capital Great World, 10 in the northernmost Great World, and 6 in the Fantasy Great World. However, although there are fewer chaotic realm supremes in the Fantasy Great World, they are proficient in soul attacks, especially their leader, Supreme Mengyu. Her means are impossible to guard against. The threat of her alone is comparable to that of 3 or 4 chaotic realm supremes. The biggest obstacle to entering the true Sun Great World, Supreme Jinwu, was defeated and restrained by Supreme Mengyu. Ku Long spared no effort in explaining this common knowledge. In fact, there was no need to hide this information. The other party only needed to inquire a little and they would be able to find out everything. In other words, the number of Supremes who have entered the divine wilderness Great World has already reached 12. That's not the case. Supreme Ku Long hurriedly said, in addition to our 4 great worlds, there are many other forces who have also sent experts into the divine wilderness Great World, such as the Taoist Ancestor, the Supreme Elder of the Void Sword Pavilion, the sect leader of the 3 Phases sect, and so on. These people all have powerful organizations behind them and are not burdened by their great worlds. We can't afford to offend them. In addition, they have formed an alliance to support each other, so we can't stop them from forcibly entering the divine wilderness Great World to avoid endless trouble in the future. Currently, the number of chaotic realm supremes in the divine wilderness Great World should be between 18 to 20. Moreover, because the Supremes of the Scarlet Sun Empire went to other great worlds to ask for reinforcements, the news that the divine wilderness Great World has a large number of Tao-carrying objects can no longer be concealed. More and more forces will turn their attention to the divine wilderness Great World. A terrifying world that produces 15,000 Tao-carrying objects every year. At this point, this Supremes who specialized in defense could only laugh bitterly. It's only a matter of time before a ruler who has cultivated the mixed Yuan sacred body is attracted here. A ruler. Currently, our only hope is to pin our hopes on the true Sun Great World's isolation and delay as much time as possible. However, with a ruler's ability, if he wants to fly into the true Sun Great World from a nearby Great World, it will take at most 100 years. In other words, even if we occupy the divine wilderness Great World and plunder it to our heart's content, we can only occupy it for 80 to 90 years. Once a ruler arrives, all of us chaotic realm experts will have to make way for him. After saying this, Supreme Ku Long glanced at Xing Hui. Not just a ruler, perhaps even a great ability master would not be able to turn a blind eye to a world with such a high production of Tao-carrying objects. In addition, this man in front of him had a great ability master backing him. As long as he could report this news, it would only be a matter of time before a great ability master personally arrived. Xing Hui knew that his so-called identity as the disciple of a great ability master was just a figment of his imagination. However, if news of the divine wilderness great world's production of Tao-carrying objects really did spread, it would not be difficult for a great ability master to personally come. In fact, if not for the fact that the divine wilderness great world and true sun great world were located in the rear, or even near the borders of the great world, where the number of experts was rare, and there might not even be one or two rulers in hundreds or thousands of great worlds, a ruler would have already entered the divine wilderness great world. After making a trip to the three-domain battlefield, he fully understood the value of Tao-carrying objects. The merit points obtained from killing an opponent equivalent to a primal Chaos Realm Supreme could only be exchanged for 10 Tao-carrying objects. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Right now, the people attacking the divine wilderness great world were primal Chaos Realm Supremes. He could still deal with them, but if a ruler came, when he thought of this, he did not intend to waste any more time outside. He said bluntly, "I want a spot in a place as precious as the divine wilderness great world. Of course, with your esteemed self-strength that is not inferior to Sovereign Mengyu, or even slightly stronger than Sovereign Mengyu, it is enough for you to win our respect. You can occupy a continent in the divine wilderness great world and harvest as much as you want." Supreme Withered Dragon quickly said. "Since we are all busy harvesting the Tao-carrying objects in the divine wilderness great world, then, there is no need for us to fight. Open the world transfer array and let me go to the divine wilderness great world." Xing Hui said. "Alright, we will open the transfer array for you," Supreme Withered Dragon added. The Withered Dragon Sovereign added, "We of the Tai Hua Great World express our deepest regret for the conflict just now. We hope that you won't be displeased with the upcoming hunt because of this matter. Of course, it was just a misunderstanding." Xing Hui nodded. Although his battle strength was above that of ordinary Supremes, he was still a little weak against at least 20 or 30 primal Chaos Realm Supremes who were attacking the divine wilderness great world. Just as Supreme Withered Dragon opened the transfer array and invited Xing Hui to step into it, Xing Hui seemed to have thought of something and asked, "That's right, there should be many local powerhouses in the divine wilderness great world, right? I wonder how they are doing. Will I be attacked if I go to the divine wilderness great world?" Supreme Withered Dragon immediately laughed when he heard this. "Rest assured, Supreme Eastern Sunday. 10,000 years ago, there were indeed many powerhouses in the divine wilderness great world. Let alone Supremes, it is said that there was even a person who called himself a ruler. I don't know if this is true or not, but these powerhouses seem to have an internal conflict 10,000 years ago. Even the one suspected to be a ruler fell in the internal conflict, killed by a sneak attack by his trusted aide. The pitiful forces in the divine wilderness great world are not even worth mentioning." Chapter 848. The Divine Wilderness Great World. The former Top Chaos Organization's eternal base. Xing Hui's figure appeared directly in the teleportation array. There was also a Chaos Realm Supreme overseeing the teleportation array. Although he was unfamiliar with Xing Hui's face, he understood that those who could step into the teleportation array must have broken through the joint blockade of Withered Dragon Prime, Chi Rui Prime, and the others, and had the qualifications to compete for the resources of the divine wilderness great world. Even if the Chaos Realm Supreme overseeing the teleportation array was unfamiliar with such an expert, he still nodded politely. Xing Hui glanced at the Chaos Realm Supreme with an indifferent expression. He directly soared into the sky and quickly left. The Chaos Realm Supreme's expression turned ugly when he saw this scene, but he did not say anything in the end. His duty was to guard the teleportation array of the Tai Hua Great World, to prevent it from being destroyed and cutting off the Tai Hua Great World's escape route. Whoosh! Xing Hui flew into the void, his gaze seemingly able to penetrate layers of space as he looked around the divine wilderness great world. The entire divine wilderness great world had the Tianhuang mainland as its center, with a radius of about 150 million to 200 million kilometers, which meant that its diameter was no more than 400 million kilometers. Although it had a territory of 400 million kilometers, the true core was only 100 million kilometers with the Tianhuang mainland as the center. This 100 million kilometers was the true bustling land. Compared to 100 years ago, the divine wilderness great world had undoubtedly changed greatly. Xing Hui did not need to carefully sense powerful auras rampaging through the divine wilderness great world. Most of these auras were of the divine true body and the traversal realm, but from time to time, there were also the auras of the chaos realm. Xing Hui did not need to guess to know that this must be because they had sensed the existence of the divine wilderness great world. Under this kind of conflict, the entire divine wasteland great world was currently in chaos, with the flames of war everywhere. When Xing Hui looked up, he could see a black hole-like whirlpool 300,000 kilometers away, continuously devouring the divine wasteland great world's matter. If this vortex appeared in the small world of a one-thought realm expert, it would only take 6 to 10 hours at most for it to completely devour their world, causing them to perish. However, due to the divine wilderness great world being extremely large and its mass being astonishing, the black hole had existed for 10 days to half a month without completely disappearing. It only caused the area within a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers to become a Yuan Qi desert. Even the living things on the ground were rapidly dying. It should be two primal chaos supremes fighting here. Furthermore, they are going all out. If this continues, it won't be long before the entire divine wilderness great world is shattered by them. Xing Hui looked at the scene in front of him with an ugly expression. It was not difficult for him to spend half a month to kill a primal chaos supremes. However, the problem was that most of the primal chaos supremes who came this time were in groups of 2 or 3. Some were even in groups of 4 or 6. He was slightly stronger than ordinary primal chaos supremes but did not have the ability to change the situation of the battle. If he rashly killed a primal chaos supremes and if things went wrong, it might cause the other primal chaos supremes to feel threatened and join forces to deal with him alone. Let's go to the Hunyuan sword sect to take a look first. Xing Hui turned and quickly flew in the direction of Qianxiong. When he left, Qianxiong had already formed the Hunyuan sword sect by combining the sword shadow sect, rainbow sword sect, and other forces into one. Its location was the Tier 15 array of the Heavenly Way. However, that 15th order array formation could be said to be sturdy and tyrannical in the divine wilderness great world at that time. But in the face of the groups of divine true body realm experts, unhindered realm experts, and even world creation realm experts, as well as the primal chaos realm experts who could oversee a world and ensure the stability of a great world, it was not worth mentioning. In fact, this was indeed the case. When Xing Hui really arrived at the Hunyuan sword sect, the entire mountain range within 10,000 kilometers of the Hunyuan sword sect had been uprooted. What entered his sight were ruins and some corpses that clearly belonged to the disciples of the Hunyuan sword sect could be faintly seen. You actually destroyed my Hunyuan sword sect. You invaders, all of you deserve to die. Xing Hui's eyes flashed with raging anger. Biting cold killing intent erupted from his body and pierced through the void. His gaze turned and directly charged toward the 2 unhindered realm experts who were fighting closest to him. With a leap, he appeared 20,000 kilometers away. Here, the 2 unhindered realm experts led by dozens of divine true body realm experts were engaged in a fierce battle. Xing Hui descended and did not waste any words. His terrifying force field, which was not inferior to a black hole, had already enveloped the area. The divine true body realm experts who were fighting fiercely did not even have the chance to scream before they were crushed into pieces by the terrifying force field naturally emitted from his body. Even the 2 unhindered realm experts who were fighting fiercely a second ago screamed and revealed their true bodies to resist the force field. However, Judging from the speed at which their divine true bodies were being destroyed, it would take at most a few dozen breaths for them to still be unable to escape the fate of death that awaited them. Spare me! Spare me! Sovereign, please spare me! This one is the subordinate of Sovereign C of the Tai Hua Great World. I don't know how I have offended Senior, but please spare my life and give me a chance to atone for my crimes. The two unhindered realm experts shouted, their faces filled with fear. Tai Hua Great World. Tsing Hui's gaze fell on the other unhindered realm expert. Your identity. I am Taoist Bishop Chiu. I came with our sect ancestor, Taoist Bishop Chiu. You are the first batch of cultivators to enter the divine wilderness Great World. Let me ask you, which force destroyed the Hunyuan sword sect that originally belonged to the divine wilderness Great World 20,000 kilometers away? The Hunyuan sword sect. The strongest sect in the world, but still only has one divine true body realm cultivator overseeing it. It has nothing to do with us. This sect was personally destroyed by the primal chaos sovereigns of the Yujing Great World and the northernmost Great World. It has nothing to do with us. When the people of the Tai Hua Great World arrived, the Hunyuan sword sect had already been completely emptied. Yujing Great World, northernmost Great World, Tsing Hui's eyes flashed with a cold light. The other Pathfinder expert who had followed the Taoist path looked at Qing Su, who was on the verge of exploding with rage. He was terrified. By now, he could already tell that the sovereign before him was probably a native cultivator of the divine wilderness Great World. Perhaps he was a peak figure who had left the divine wilderness Great World 10,000 years ago to conquer the outside world. To prevent Qing Su from directly killing him out of anger, he immediately racked his brains, to think of all the information that could help him preserve his life. As he racked his brains, he really did manage to think of some useful information. At this moment, he hurriedly said, Your Majesty, although the Hunyuan sword sect was facing a disaster under the attack of the northernmost Great World and the Yujing Great World, when the northernmost Great World and the Yujing Great World destroyed the Hunyuan sword sect, some people in the Void Sword Pavilion also wanted to take a share of the Hunyuan sword sect. Later, a war broke out between the three sides. In the end, the Hunyuan sword sect was destroyed by the northernmost Great World and the Yujing Great World. However, many of the main figures of the Hunyuan sword sect were captured by the Void Sword Pavilion to force them to hand over the Taoist objects and the primal chaos level. Void Sword Pavilion. When Tsing Hui thought of the Void Sword Pavilion, he immediately thought of Sword Master Bai Heng. Sword Master Bai Heng, by Shuaing, was in the Void Sword Pavilion. According to these people, in 100 years, esteemed Zhu Zhao had broken through to the divine true body realm. Then, after entering the Void Sword Pavilion, Bai Shuaing, who had a better environment, talent, and also had the originator, should have a higher cultivation level. She should be at least in the traversal realm. If the Void Sword Pavilion really spared no effort to cultivate her, it would not be strange for her to have cultivated to the realm of a thought. After all, in an environment like the divine wilderness Great World, Sword Master Bai Heng only took less than 300 years to cultivate to the realm of domain. If she really broke through to the realm of a thought, her words would have weighed in the Void Sword Pavilion. If she came forward to ask the people of the Void Sword Pavilion to protect the core members of the Hunyuan sword sect, it would be completely reasonable. Where is the Void Sword Pavilion? Over there, less than 1,000,000 kilometers from here. The traversal realm expert hurriedly pointed in a direction. That was the direction of the White Rainbow Sword Sect. The Void Sword Pavilion could set up its temporary headquarters in the White Rainbow Sword Sect. It seemed that Bai Shuaing's status in the Void Sword Pavilion was not too low. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui's figure flashed, and he went straight to the temporary residence of the Void Sword Pavilion here. Seeing Tsing Hui leave, the two traversal realm experts who had narrowly escaped death breathed a sigh of relief as if relieved of a heavy burden. However, before they could completely breathe a sigh of relief, two sword lights directly shattered the void and shot toward them. In an instant, the two people's foreheads were pierced. The power of the great way of all things returned to one contained in the sword Qi extinguished all their vitality on the spot. Invading my divine wilderness great world, wantonly destroying my divine wilderness great world, damn it. After the two people died, Tsing Hui's voice seemed to faintly come from the void. After killing the two traversal realm experts, Tsing Hui was extremely fast and quickly flew toward the residence of the Void Sword Pavilion. Compared to the True Sun Great World, the Taihua Great World, and the northernmost Great World, the Void Sword Pavilion was much more powerful. This could be seen from the fact that the Void Sword Pavilion could open branches in the True Sun Great World, the Taihua Great World, the northernmost Great World, and the Yujing Great World to recruit genius disciples, but these great worlds did not dare to come forward to stop the loss of these geniuses. It was said that there was a dominator inside the Void Sword Pavilion, and there was more than one. Such a powerful force, even if only a part of its strength was sent, could still make the Taihua Great World, the northernmost Great World, the True Sun Great World, and the Yujing Great World extremely fearful. But, they were just fearful. In the face of the shocking profits of tens of thousands of years of Taoism objects every year, not to mention that the dominators of the Void Sword Pavilion had not yet arrived, even if the dominators came in person, the supreme beings of the True Sun Great World, the Taihua Great World, the northernmost Great World, the Yujing Great World, and the Fantasy Great World would dare to take the risk. After all, as long as they could get enough Taoism aura to buy a life-saving divine weapon of the Great Path, the supreme beings might be able to survive in front of the dominators. And if their life-saving ability was strong, it meant that they could explore more dangerous places and get more resources. In the future, it would be easier to cultivate the origin sacred body and step into the dominator realm. This was a battle of the Great Path, and there was no room for retreat. In this case, although the Void Sword Pavilion occupied a place on Heaven Wasteland, because it did not have the power to control the world, it still did not dare to be too arrogant. Chapter 849 Void Sword Pavilion. Tsing Hui's figure appeared outside the Void Sword Pavilion. As a huge force with more than one dominator, even if the Void Sword Pavilion was a temporary mountain gate, it was still extraordinary. Tsing Hui could judge that although the area in front of him was only about 100 kilometers, Tsing Hui felt the fluctuations of the small world inside. And, it was an internal cycle. Even if it was isolated from the world, it could still grow and multiply. This kind of small world did not need to rely on external forces to replenish its own consumption, so it was often impregnable. The small world of the Boundary Realm and the Chaotic Realm Supreme seemed to be defenseless in front of Tsing Hui. He could enter and leave as he wished. However, in the face of such a small world with an internal cycle, entering it was equivalent to entering a formation of at least the 20th level. As long as there were a few Chaotic Realm Supreme Masters personally presiding over it, it was inevitable that he would not be able to leave. Tsing Hui stayed outside the Void Sword Pavilion for less than a moment. Immediately, a majestic aura descended from the sky with a hint of sharpness. This is the territory of the Void Sword Pavilion. What business do you have here? As the aura descended, a dignified figure slowly appeared. This figure was an old man who looked like an immortal. His aura was extraordinary. He himself was compatible with the omnipresent power of the Great Way in the territory of the Master of Chaos. Judging from the cutting and sharpness of the power of the Great Way on his body, this was a Chaotic Realm Supreme Master who had comprehended the Great Way of space and developed it toward attack. Tsing Hui's eyes stayed on this Chaotic Realm Supreme Master for a moment, and then glanced at the small world behind him. The Void Sword Pavilion had left quite a few people in the encampment, but Qing Su did not sense any familiar presences among them. As a result, he speculated that if the people of the Hunyuan sword sect had really been saved by the people of the Void Sword Pavilion, they should have been placed in this miniature world. Because he did not know the situation of the people of the Hunyuan sword sect, Tsing Hui did not go straight to the point. Instead, he said in a roundabout way, "I'm here to find Bai Shuiying." "Is he here?" By Shuaing. The sage-like old man stared at Tsing Hui warily. You want to see her? Who are you to her? Looks like she's here. Please tell her that the old friend who bought the Torch Sun Sutra from her is here. The old man frowned. He could sense a vague, unfathomable presence from Qing Su, but he still nodded in the end. He was unwilling to offend an expert who was clearly a chaotic realm sovereign. Then please wait a moment. As he spoke, he sent out a strand of his consciousness, which entered the small world and disappeared without a trace. A short moment later, there was a response from the small world. Bai Shuaing, the master of sword Bai Hein, immediately appeared outside the small world. When she saw the man standing in the air with the sage-like old man, her pretty face was filled with shock and surprise. She immediately jumped over and said, Tsing Hui, you're back. Oh. When the old man saw that Bai Shuaing was acquainted with this unfathomable primal chaos supreme and seemed to have a good relationship with him, he couldn't help but ask, Shuaing, may I know who this supreme is? Supreme? Bai Shuaing was slightly stunned when she heard the old man address Tsing Hui respectfully. Great Elder Floating Light, you're saying. Tsing Hui is a supreme. The old man named Floating Light smiled and stroked his beard. This old man still has eyes. This supreme Tsing Hui's cultivation is definitely at the primal chaos realm. Moreover, his cultivation method and bloodline should be extremely profound. It's to the point that I can't see how far his small world has expanded. Supreme. After receiving confirmation from Floating Light, Bai Shuaing looked at Tsing Hui with surprise in her eyes. Shuaing. I want to ask about the Hunyuan sword sect. Tsing Hui said in a deep voice. Hearing Tsing Hui's inquiry, Bai Shuaing also suppressed the joy of reuniting with her old friend and bowed to Floating Light. Great Elder, Tsing Hui is my friend. Can I bring him into the mysterious void world? Of course. Floating Light had a faint smile on his face. Although the Void Sword Pavilion could be called a top-level force, a primal chaos realm supreme still had an extremely important weight. Now, a disciple of the sect was on good terms with a rather mysterious primal chaos realm supreme. Whether it was to broaden her future social circle or to strengthen the foundation of the Void Sword Pavilion itself, it was of vital importance. Especially now, the Void Sword Pavilion was competing with other forces for the right to distribute the resources of the Divine Wilderness Great World. They only sent 4 Primal Chaos Realm Supreme to guard here. In such a big environment, the more Primal Chaos Realm Supreme they had, the better. Thinking of this, Floating Light added with a smile, if there's a chance, I hope to communicate with Supreme Tsing Hui. There will be a chance. Tsing Hui said, and followed by Shuaing directly into this small world. As Tsing Hui stepped into this small world, he immediately felt that this world was unusual. Just as he guessed, the entire small world had been built to be impregnable. Not only were there layers of great Tao laws in the world barrier, but there were also a large number of strangulation formations. Some of the formations were so powerful that ordinary Primal Chaos Realm Supreme would face a situation of near death if they were to fall into it. Of course, due to the characteristics of the Master of Chaos, everyone only paid attention to the size after reaching the realm of boundary with thought. They only focused on personal combat power, so the power of the formations naturally began to decline greatly. The layout of this small world could be presided over by 3 or 4 Primal Chaos Realm Supreme to resist the invasion of more than 10 Primal Chaos Realm Supreme, but it was still an extravagant hope to rely on this small world to resist the Primal Chaos Sacred Body. Tsing Hui. I'm very sorry about the Hunyuan sword sect. Bai Shuaing took Qing Su into the depths of the world. Her face was filled with pity. Now that the Divine Wilderness Great World is facing such a disaster, there's a limit to what you can do. I just want to know how the main members of our Hunyuan sword sect are doing. That should be the most fortunate thing, Lin Li said with a smile. Bai Shuaing let out a sigh of relief and said, even though our Hunyuan sword sect was defeated by the invading forces in the instant of the battle, our side's greatest advantage is that our primal chaos realm is extremely high. Almost every upper echelon of the Hunyuan sword sect has a primal chaos realm of 29. Even if they don't, they've accumulated many Dao-carrying treasures over the years. When they sensed that the enemy was so strong that they couldn't fight against them, they immediately chose to use teleportation techniques to escape. Teleportation techniques. Hearing Bai Shuaing's words, Xing Hui's eyes couldn't help but light up slightly. Master Firmament, Master Candle Illumination, Master Zheng, and the others, they've all escaped successfully and are currently hiding in various corners of the Divine Wilderness Great World. In addition, a small number of people from the Hunyuan sword sect have been intercepted by Elder Floating Light and taken in by our small world. Xing Hui was a little surprised. Master Candle Illumination, Master Firmament, Master Zheng, and the others aren't hiding here. The Void Sword Pavilion is not a monolithic block. Among the several great elders of the Void Sword Pavilion, Floating Light and Sweeping Shadow are from the line of my master, the Liha Sword Master. Relying on my master's face, they agreed to protect the core disciples of our original White Rainbow Sword sect. However, the remaining two great elders, Yichen and Lanxin, are from the line of another Firmament Sword Master. They've coveted the primal chaos realm of Elder Changhong and the others more than once. Under such circumstances, I dare not let the others of the Hunyuan sword sect enter the mysterious void world for protection. When Bai Shuaing said this, there was a trace of powerlessness in her tone. I understand. Xing Hui nodded. I believe you've done your best. After that, he glanced at Bai Shuaing and smiled slightly. I haven't congratulated you on your breakthrough in cultivation. I thought that after 100 years, you would at most break through to the level of the traversal realm. I didn't expect you to condense a small world and step into the realm of creating a world with a thought. It's really incredible. My achievements today are inseparable from the originator you sold to me. In addition, my master, the Liha Sword Master, has helped me a lot. Although the originator is good, it also depends on who uses it. I heard on the way that the strongest person in our Divine Wilderness Great World so far is only in the Divine True Body realm, right? It should be Master Candle Illumination and Master Firmament. Both of them also have the originator, but in 100 years, they have only condensed the Divine True Body. Compared to you, who has already cultivated a small world, how much worse is it? Bai Shuaing heard this and smiled. You're still talking about me. I heard clearly what Great Elder Floating Light said just now. Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm, Supreme Xing Hui. In our Void Sword Pavilion, Supreme Masters of the first level of the Chaotic Realm are called Sword Masters, and the Masters of the second level of the Chaotic Realm are called Sword Masters. This time, your title of Sword Master is truly worthy of it. Sword Master. My title of Sword Master was promoted after I became the Great Elder of the Hunyuan Sword Sect. But in the end, I did not fulfill the responsibility of the Great Elder of the Hunyuan Sword Sect to protect the safety of the disciples of the Hunyuan Sword Sect. Xing Hui did not intend to continue the small talk. I'll take a look at Elder Changhong and the others. I'm relieved that they are fine. In order to prevent Master Zheng, Master Firmament, and Master Candle Illumination from being in danger, I'll contact them right away. I also have a small world with good defensive power. After I bring them into that small world, we'll deal with these invaders. The Divine Wilderness Great World is our macro world, a place where we can rest and build up strength. No one can touch it. These invaders dare to rape and plunder in our Divine Wilderness Great World and commit all kinds of crimes, so they have to pay for what they have done. Also, the Jade Capital Great World and the Northernmost Great World have destroyed our Hunyuan Sword Sect. How can I let them off so easily? Xing Hui's expression was fierce. When he finished speaking, his eyes were already full of killing intent. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.